Boy! There I go streaming again. Alright, let's go ahead and open up my more complete file. I think it has all the recipes so that we can, like, when we get to this part about ships and whatnot, we can go look at some of the ships we already have, or some of the weapon mounts we already have. Like, we can go access this stuff to... Oh, my Java crashed. It went boom. Yeah, I'm so hyped. I'm so hyped about the patch. I'm so hyped about the notes. Who knows when it's going to release? But, yeah, everything that they've talked about. I'm so excited. I have some favorites, but, literally every single line made me happy. Oh boy, I'm so hyped. Alright, should I do a screen share instead of Amatherly. I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get that down. I like to get the names right. Ooh. My volume's coming through my screen, not me. Dude, you see the patch? The patch notes. There's no patch yet. I want to stress this. There's no patch yet. But the patch notes have just dropped. I'm so hyped. Hey, Beth. How you doing?
Good.
So, Bitharne... Oh, we're live now, by the way. Bitharne's going to be joining me to chit-chat about the game. Bitharne is a fellow vanilla enthusiast. So, yeah, we're a little hyped. Like, literally, I woke up, saw that the patch notes dropped, and then, like, 30 minutes later, Bith's like, yo, did you see the patch notes?
Yeah, I saw it. I think I saw it on freaking Facebook or something weird. There was something for it, and I popped over, and I was like expecting like, fixed random bullshit, and it would be like one of those tiny patches that didn't mean anything.
Oh, no, this is a hype patch.
I was like, oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff they did. That's pretty awesome.
Oh man, dude, I cannot contain my excitement. The mining run is going to be so hype. I'm going to be able to put so many mining lasers on everything. I had only just started using... Oh, that's pretty loud in my ear. I'd only just started using mining lasers, too. And it's like, oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. So, for those who don't know, the mining laser is getting dropped from 2 ordnance points to 1 ordnance point.
As it should.
Yeah, it's kind of trash at 2 ordnance points. And it's nice that there'll be another weapon that you can just fill slots with. Yep. Because there's hammers on missile racks, but there's nothing on the energy and the ballistic racks. So yeah, I'm...
all the mining weapons hybrids now too, so you can throw them on ballistic slots.
Absolutely. Oh man, I'm so hyped. Okay, I gotta turn down my game volume so I can hear the people. There we go. That'll be... And then I'll just boost it in Discord. Or not Discord, OBS. That way it's not loud in my ear. But yeah.
No, Emma thoroughly. They're not really adding mining. Mining weapons are just a classification of weapon that are kind of like cheap weapons that fill in decent filler roles, but they also haven't been doing that as the issue. So this patch kind of fixed that.
Let me open up my file so we can... I have all the recipes and we can go look at it, because they're not changing they're changing the mining blaster a little bit. I'm hype about that too.
Yeah, the blaster. Yeah.
It sounds like it's actually getting a little bit of a nerf, because it's going to be work on a clip, and so I'm wondering if like the sustained fire rate means it's going to go down. But oh man, the lag on this file every time I drop in. Well, I just need to open up the recipe guide. I don't need to go anywhere. Weapons, small. Right now it's energy, and so it's 2 ordnance points, 600 range, just 30 damage per second. It's a beam weapon, 10 flux per second. So essentially a damage, of 1/3 for the flux rate, the damage ratio. And I'm guessing it's still going to count as energy because it becomes a hybrid, but most the hybrid weapons, count as one or the other. So they'll probably still count as an energy weapon for like getting buffs. But the fact that you can just throw this sucker on now as extra point defense, because it's a point defense weapon, as extra point defense for 1 point Oh, I'm so hype. Let me scroll down into the section where they talk about that. It was not combat. Weapons. Here we are. And there's so much to go over. Like I had to scroll and scroll and scroll. So the mining blaster is getting changed to use regenerating charges to a maximum of 4. It's because right now it just blasts. It doesn't say anything about changing its firing, so I'm guessing that means essentially it's DPS, it's shots per, it's going to go down. But honestly, it uses so much flux, I don't know how much that's going to actually impact the way the AI uses the weapon. Because, I mean, like, if they dump all 4 charges out anyway, most of the ships that you would put this on are going to be, like, out of flux anyway, and needing to retreat, pull back. Damage is changed to 200 per shot. Okay, so that's a huge nerf. Yeah, okay, so it's getting nerfed. And it's not changing the ordnance points cost. Huh. Maybe it'll fire faster?
It's supposed to... Yeah, it's supposed to be one of the... like a burst laser, essentially, so...
Because it's also getting changed to do less flux. Okay, so... essentially, the shot that it does now is going to be what it does over... Well, actually, I mean... I guess it depends on how fast it fires. If it fires at 2 seconds, or refire delay still, then this is a nerf. But if it dumps all 4 of those charges out pretty quickly, then it could actually be a buff.
Well, that's pretty much how all those weapons work, so I would assume that's how it would change.
Yeah, most of the ones with charges don't, like, the slowest firing rate is on the heavy burst lasers, but, like, they still fire quickly. Like, if we're looking at something like that, then that thing is gonna, like... And it does extra damage to armor, too. An extra 100 armor-only damage, which is a weird addition. Is there other weapons that do stuff like that? It's like... I think maybe the Paladin has something weird like that, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, it has extra fragmentation damage to nearby targets, so I guess it's going to be similar to that, but with armor-only damage to the target you're hitting. So like just on top of the regular damage buff. That's kind of cool. And yeah, damage change to high explosion. Right. All right. So right now it counts as energy, and it's going to get changed to explosion. Is there a difference between high explosion and explosion?
High explosive is the same.
Oh, it's just called a high explosive. Okay.
It also the mining blaster adds a flat extra 100 armor damage or 200 armor damage to every shot on top of the normal damage. So
it's going to do 500 to armor,
like the breacher missiles.
Yeah, I'm looking at them now. Okay, that's fantastic. I love that. Oh, I'm so hyped for that. I mean, it sounds like it's going to get a buff versus armor, but it's going to be crap against shields. But that's okay, because honestly, if anything, the Mining Blaster being as good against shields as it is now is probably a little, it's a little too good. I mean, it doesn't get utilized a lot. I don't really utilize it a lot, but for what it is, what it's supposed to represent, it probably shouldn't be hitting shields as hard as it hits them now. I mean, the Sunder featuring 3 Mining Blasters being viable is kind of silly. But now it's going to be like... So I guess you could say that the Mining Blaster, the damage is getting nerfed. But we'll have to wait and see. So that's the one thing about this patch notes that I'm noticing as I was going through them, is there's some things that are left unsaid. Quite a few things, in fact. Especially once you get into, like, the ships... and you start looking at, we're just adding a new ship. And there's no real details about it. It's just that they're coming. That I'm kind of hyped about, too. Like, the ships that, even though we don't get a lot of details about them, like, there's a whole, essentially there's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, I think there's more in here. No, 10. Yeah, 10 new ships, and I say new, air quotes, new, ships, because most of them are variants, like half of them. Oh no. 1, 2, 3 are variants, and then there's one that's a version of one of the new ones that's variant. So technically 4 variants, since the Executor is going to be a version of the Pegasus, whatever that means. And both of those are battleships. A Nova-class drone battlecruiser. Is that so? That's going to be a capital ship.
They should be a little smaller. A battlecruiser would be a little bit smaller than a capital.
Oh, cruiser. Yes, that's cruiser. It's battle.
Yeah,
battle means
heavy cruiser.
That's kind of cool though. A drone ship that's on cruiser level, because the Venture sucks. I hate and I'm so mad that they're like including 2 Venture variants. It's like the ship I like the least, but then again I don't really use it. So
it's a pretty good ship. It's in a weird spot.
My hate to it has a lot to do with the fact that I'm so flexible with utilizing other ships that the generalist ships really don't appeal to me. Like, I have the same feelings about the Apogee, which I'm glad to see is getting its deployment clause raised, because I went up against one yesterday, and I'm like, man, if this thing is tooled right with a good officer, you really can't get through that shield.
Yeah, it's pretty beast line ship to hold. Puts out a lot of firepower too.
Yeah, and I got caught by the high intensity laser swarmer combo. Oh man, if you're a phase ship, that's the scariest thing on the battlefield, because it just peels off your armor in an instant, and then starts pouring in swarm missiles right in your face. So
yeah, I think they're updating swarm missiles to be what they're supposed to be instead of anti-fighter.
Oh,
they do work as anti-fighter, but
I didn't see that part. I mean, I saw it, but I skipped over it.
It's like a small line, but because even though that's what they're like, oh, it's an anti-fighter fragmentation missile thing, but I think it's actually explosive damage for armor destruction. It does respectable DPS to what you're focusing on.
The Locust SRM? Oh no, the small swarm one.
The small swarmer missile.
Yeah. Because now I know what you mean. Yeah, absolutely. Because those things are, they're not anti-fighter. They're not fragmentation. They're high explosive. They're great for using that.
All the way up top. There you go.
Yeah, they're absolutely fantastic for that.
Yeah. So it says primary role anti-small craft. That's really not what they're for.
No,
but they're good at doing that. So that's actually kind of like they're like if you go up against a lot of drone stuff early, having a bunch of swarmers is really nice because it'll help you clear out in front of you. But then if all the enemies, all the little ships are dead, then they'll track in on your main target and fuck that up.
Yeah, no, they're fantastic. I love putting them on ships that are otherwise lacking in point defense, especially ships that I fly, because it's like, okay, great, I can just spam these out against enemy fighters or against enemy ships to crack their armor, pressure them to keep their shields up. Like there's a lot of. It's definitely one of the low-key better small missiles that I think people don't give a lot of love.
Yeah, I think it's the best missile. Like I pretty much exclusively use swarmers and harpoons.
I'm a huge fan of salamanders still.
Salamanders, what I meant to say. Sorry.
Oh, not the harpoon. Yeah.
I don't like harpoons. Other people do, but I like the salamanders because it gives you unlimited amount of pressure during a match.
Oh, for sure.
All your early, smaller support ships, I always put them on them, especially if you back. Salamanders make really good butt missiles.
Yeah, they do. I know you like those.
If you're doing that high-tech run, you do it with the Mercury shuttle, because it has a back slot that you can put a salamander on, and then you can put like swarmers on front, or more salamanders on front, or because they're all hybrid slots, so you can put some interesting stuff on there. But if you're shooting directly out of your butt, salamanders are amazing.
Yeah, and another thing that I've found out with them is because I'm getting really into having phase ships in my support cast. Phase ships with salamanders are fantastic because when they phase out, they recharge the salamanders faster, so they can pump out like twice as
The AI
fast.
is really good with them too. I was surprised.
Oh,
I
yeah.
figured they would suck with them, but they're really good.
And another thing too is like I always see enemy vigilance wearing pilums. That's a waste. Don't do that. Pilums suck. Put them salamanders on there. The thing will recharge its subsystem before it recharges the salamander rack. Basically, you have a double rate of fire salamander in your fleet, and you can put like a hypervelocity driver or a thumper on it. Dude, I love salamanders. So let's talk more about weapons then, because I think the weapon changes.
Big ones.
There's a lot of stuff here. I mean, there's the graphics one. Let's go from the top to bottom. There's the graphics change on the point defense lasers. I'm hoping that will be noticeable, because honestly, I didn't, for the longest time, like the first 500 hours I played, I didn't even notice point defense lasers until the burst lasers, until I actually put them on my own ship, and I was like, oh, that's what that is. And then I started noticing them. Like, are they low-key absolutely trash?
Hold on, I was pulling up the notes. Which one were you saying again?
So the very top of weapons, I'm just talking about point defense lasers in general.
And heavy burst.
Yeah.
So I never liked using them because I didn't notice them ever being effective.
Yeah, that's part of my problem. Their target leading seems trash.
Up, hit glow. I mean, they didn't even actually balance the weapon. They just fucking changed the cosmetic.
Well, they did balance them down further in the patch. It's just that the top line is just that. Let me get to the port.
So heavy burst. So they're cheaper, which is good, and increased smack charges, which is good.
What can I pull out that's got some energy?
The ones that are in current game, real quick.
I can put a bunch on the Medusa. Let's do that.
Oh, that's really good right there, though. For the heavy burst, ignore decoy flares.
Oh, they're taking that away. I thought they said they were taking that away.
Remove the Oh, that sucks then. Okay.
Well, honestly, I mean, like, what's the point of decoy flares at the heavy burst laser, which a lot of the enemy ships feature the heavy burst laser? Yeah. You know, what's the point of the decoy flares then if there's a weapon that gets around it? Although, like, because I mean, like, isn't that what the integrated point defense does? Is it helps you ignore? Yeah, you ignore decoy flares.
Yeah.
So you just get integrated point defense. You're fine.
Yeah, that could work. That'd probably be really good.
I don't want to tool this guy. I just want to have it be default. So let's just go in with the point defense lasers. Yeah, that's fine. And who's a good spamming missile guy? Trying to think who's a good. Oh no, you know what? Let me get some fighters out. There? What's that?
That guy right there.
The Venture?
Oh, well, it's gonna be hard.
Actually, the Venture's gonna be. No, fuck. If I put the Venture out.
The Buffalo. I think the Buffalo mark. The fucked up Buffalo.
Well, the Venture's got the boring drones too.
You have a fuck ton of fighters, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll get to see So we'll see how. So first of all, the range is. So I mean, they're okay, but I mean, I got a whole bunch of them up front, and look how long it's taken to get rid of these guys. And I have like I cannot fly like this. I hate Omni Shields. So yeah, they're not terrible, but
I don't even know. It's the blue ones.
Yeah, well, no. So that's the ion beam from the dickhead. It's the purple little block, blah, 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 pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, I forget, because some of them are beams. There they go. Yeah. So pull away to let it recharge. Because I think, I feel like there you use like the ion pulsar, where you wait and you dive in. If you're going to use them because you can use point defense weapons as a pseudo offense, and you can have them fully charged and you just dive in and blast somebody. But I wonder if they do that, you can.
But look how slow it is.
Barrage.
Did you see how slow that is?
Yeah, your movement.
No. The gunfire. Those were fully charged, and they just were like really slow. Here, I'll go back in again. We'll let them recharge up.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's shooting as fast like the ion pulsar.
Not at all. And the
Yeah, the ones that have a magazine battery clip that they recharge, they should fire really fast, but they don't seem to.
Alright, I'm gonna go up the range on it.
Your flux is also. Oh no, your flux is down, so I don't know what it's.
No, they're just trash.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I've never been impressed by them. I put them on a couple times because it made sense for what I wanted to do, but they never impressed me at all. So
I'm gonna give advanced optics.
I just prefer long-range PD lasers.
Bring the mule out. Maybe I'll have a. Actually, you know what? Here's what I'll do. I'll bring the mule out and give me a. Don't you have a tender in here? No, there's no tenders in here.
Try putting them on autopilot and see what it does with them.
Yeah, let's see what he does. The autopilot. So, a Medusa should absolutely shred these three guys. Like, this is not a challenge for them. Yeah, just look at that. I mean, it looks... It's not bad. Okay, it's not terrible. But I mean, you know...
That looks pretty effective.
I mean, but then again, the Buffalo has no armor. And look, and it's not taking care of the fighters at all. Like, look how...
I don't know why it's not shooting down the fighters. That's putting extra pressure that you could just kill them and get them out of your way.
Yeah, so the AI definitely doesn't seem to want to use them to take down those fighters. But then again, boring drones are, like, not really a super big threat, so maybe it's just ignoring them.
It is going to increase the charges, but not by much. It's only one for each gun.
That's a big deal, though.
Better? I mean, kinda.
Because here's the thing, is that with extra mag, now you get 6. Instead of going from 3 to 4.
It gives you 50% more, right?
Yeah, but it rounds down. So if you put it on these things, they only get 3.
Yeah, I guess that's important for the heavy burst.
Yeah, the heavy burst is like a 5 as well.
And the light burst, it gives you an extra on the extra mag, so...
Yeah, for both of them, it'll be a big deal for the rounding issue there, because that was another thing I noticed is like it's got a mag, but
the heavy burst is also getting 10% more damage, so
it definitely needs it. Because if you look at this, it's like look how hard how long it's taking to kill these freaking dudes. I definitely think that the advanced optics is what you want on it.
Yeah, it does.
Alright, let's tool it for damage.
That's the one that increases range, right?
Yeah, I want to tool it for damage. Let's see if we can make this thing, if we can custom auto this thing into a monster. Do safety overrides. First of all, get that shield pointed forward, please, thank you. And, high damage amplifier. And, yeah, whatever.
I do like the buff. I often use the graviton beam, so I do like that buff that they have on that.
Oh, I didn't even get to that yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh yeah, that all this. Yeah, that's going to be really good because I specifically use those in that exact way where it's like, oh, I got to put enemies out. Where I pressure with multiple graviton beams. Now that's going to be a huge buff to that. Like, I'm so happy for that because my playstyle is absolutely takes advantage.
I thought I flood my Tempest when I'm flying that as my flagship.
Oh my god, the recharge is awful.
I don't think, yeah, that's the thing. I don't think that's their intended purpose, and that's what's kind of weird. Is
I mean, I'm getting through the drones now when I'm using them like on just auto fire.
I think the burst lasers or the PD burst lasers are supposed to be for if you get a big, massive wave of missiles. They're really good at shooting them down because they can output a whole bunch of shots and thin it out fast. Whereas if you have steady, basically you can have one burst laser replace 3 regular point defense. Essentially,
I don't know if that's how it actually works out though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the concept. I think it's supposed to fill in, but I don't think it's a very good weapon, even with the changes.
Okay, so now I'm gonna manual.
They did lower the ordnance points, which is always good. So
yeah, I'm happy about that because they're way too expensive considering how. Oh, look at that! Look at that! Oh!
I mean, yeah,
I take back everything. We'll flash out, recharge.
That was a really fast kill.
Yeah, it was. And I don't even have energy weapon specialization. which would absolutely make that. And look, I got safety overrides, so of course the flux is going to be fine. Oh, get toasted! The microwaves are here.
Yeah, look how much his flux went up. Holy
Even with the sustained fire, it was firing out pretty quick too. Let's bring the Venture back in.
Man, that just looks cool.
Yeah, I guess I'm sleeping on these guys. They're not so bad, but like on auto fire, they were definitely underwhelming. Oh, hello, guy. Get these nerds.
I don't think burst weapons are very good. That's why I was playing with the ion pulsar with Tempest build.
I don't like it on the Tempest.
Go, because then I could use it. Well, what you do is you use a graviton beam on your back mount, and then because that has 1,000 meter range, so it's always firing and causing some pressure. And then whenever you have the opportunity, you go in, you dump your entire mag on them, and then you pull out, keep the pressure on them while you recharge a burster.
That is to both those salamanders.
Yeah, you should. You don't have any points defense with the back, I assume.
No, and plus I was manually controlling them all, so they just ignored it.
Yeah. See but yeah, they're technically point defense weapons. Using them for offense is hilarious, but that's not what they're for. So it's kind of hard to test them.
All right, let's
go in against certain ships. Use like a different ship that just has those for point defense. But I honestly don't think it's worth testing. I think we should look at other weapons at the moment.
But I think it's going to be interesting to see how that impacts things, though. Like, I like the reduced cost because, as you can see, it is absolutely like that was fully tooled to the max. I could use any other energy weapon; it would probably be, aside from the mining laser, it would probably be better. Like if I put 4 tactical lasers on that exact build, and like a graviton beams, probably just bore through. Not to mention, be much cheaper than that. Like the expense on the ordnance points. I'm glad that's getting changed. But back to the top of the list, the MERV. Increase submunition accuracy and reduce number of submunitions by 7. Or to 7. Typo there. By 7, yeah. Was 9. I always thought it was 8, the submunitions. But, I don't know. I guess I'm wrong there. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, it sounds like it's getting a buff and a nerf. Because it's the accuracy increase. Like, the accuracy increase is going to be great if it's like, does that mean it's going to give it a little more target leading, or that it's going to become slightly homing?
I have, like, no experience with MERV, so I don't know.
Let's bring one out, then. Here, this guy. He's got MERVs on him already. Yeah, crew under strength, I gotcha. This thing's stupid. Alright. Also, this thing's getting a buff. This thing is going from, is getting like 50 extra ordnance points?
Yeah, I think I have, I have a file with like 2 or 3 of those that I found. I never brought them out.
So this one's it's getting 40. Because this one's going to 310 and the vanilla one's going to 300.
Nice.
That's going to be great, because I've always, like, one of the things the reasons why I don't like using this thing, because you see I had to build in integrated targeting just to be able to afford 4 daggers. And, I mean, I don't think I'm going crazy with with how I've built this. You know, the hypervelocity drivers I think are good for it, because it helps it manage the flux.
It's supposed to be a good ship, and it just didn't have the points. Most people told you not to use it, basically.
Yeah, well, and I agree with that.
It wasn't the worst ship ever, but it was just, there's a lot of better ships is the problem, so yeah.
Essentially, as a capital ship, it was more of a support ship, because you couldn't, like I don't have extra capacitors in order to just have enough vents to feed my shields, and these weapons, which are all very low flux, like 3 hypervelocity drivers, they're super low on flux. The flat cannons, super low on flux. All these Vulcans, super low on flux. And I still needed almost max vents in order to compensate for the shield and all these weapons. Like, that's... And so I got no capacitors, which means my shield is kind of trash. And that's with not even that expensive on the bombers. Like, are you supposed to use shittier shit? Like, are you supposed to use shittier planes with it, maybe? Maybe it's supposed to, like, hey, it's a low-tech cruiser, you use low-tech ordnance or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that because that's going to definitely be a big change and make this, I think, a much more viable ship. Let's send him a bunch of scrubbies out. Let's send the Venture out just so I can show off the Merv. Although these daggers are probably just going to destroy it. Where's the Mervs? There they are. This thing's got such a weird ass. Hold on, I gotta change the weapon loadout. First of all, I gotta take these guys off because they're just going to destroy whatever I put out. There we go. No fire than linked. And let's let's send the Venture out just to show off the Merv. First of all, super slow guy, but I love burn drives. Like, I kind of like everything about him except for the fact that it's just so. Alright, so here's... Oh, those are the velocity drivers. So that's how they go now. Which, against larger ships, they do hit pretty consistently, but against smaller ships, like it's...
So basically, though, you're more likely to hit with all of your shots, so it is just a flat buff to the weapon, essentially.
Yeah. So I'm guessing with 7, they're just going to take these ones off the end.
That's 2 shots, right?
Yeah, that is 2. I'm firing them linked.
Yeah. So.
And
so that's 18 missiles.
Yeah, and you can see how the ones on the ends.
4 missiles missed.
Yeah.
So that would be a wash on the new one because all the new missiles would have hit on the new one for sure.
That's what I'm guessing because the ones that missed. The ones that he went to the side to try and get out from under the center of it. So that's why missiles to one side missed. Oh no! So like now we can see. Yeah, look at that! Look at that! All the ones on the outside are missing here. The two, especially the 2 most extreme ones.
So that looks like you're gonna miss with like 4, 5, like 5, 6.
That's several missiles. That's half the salvo there. It just went through.
I'm positive.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So on that shot, it would have been a huge buff.
Oh, that was 9.
Also, it's a little bit of you missed. Yeah. So, but also it would be slightly nerf if they're depending on how much anti point defense they have. So 9 missiles is better for defeating point defense, but if they're not going to hit the target anyway, it doesn't matter. So it also at that point it depends on how good the AI is at targeting the missiles that will hit versus the missiles that will miss.
That is a good point though, because in this situation, the boring drones are targeting missiles that wouldn't be there anymore because they're targeting the ones on the outside.
Right.
And those are the ones that arrive first. So the point defense, if it had any, would be pointing at those as well.
Yeah.
Now that was a better salvo.
All in all, it's probably a slight buff.
Well, I'd say it's probably a buff. Yeah.
It's a big buff most of the time, but in certain situations it'll be a nerf. But
yeah, I mean,
overall, I think it's positive.
One of the things about the Merv that I don't like, as is that it's basically worthless against smaller targets. Like here, let's go in against. Let's put a hammer out. Because if you're fast enough, and I think the hammer might be fast enough, you can just completely get out of the way of the thing. And if that accuracy increase is like, maybe they wait till they pop open a little bit longer. Oh wow, this thing turns so awkward. Whatever. I know, I'll turn those off. So like, yeah, he avoided more than half of that. It's about half. It's less than half.
Yeah, but all of them would have hit. So yeah, it's.
You know what am I doing with this guy? I should have a Griffin. Hold on. Let's just be using a Griffin. Do I have a Griffin here? I don't have a Griffin. Are you kidding me? Where's my Griffin? It's gotta be. Is it in my fleet? I know I've got one. I probably just dumped it on this planet. Hold on, it's probably. Oh, the lag. But yeah, I'm excited. I think that's going to be just a flat-out buff. Yeah, there they are. Which I actually feature it on my Griffin because my Griffins are set up specifically to take on larger targets. And against larger targets, they're alright. So this guy's got a single. This is definitely a support Griffin, though. So, like, yeah, you can see how that went all in on him. That was nice. Oh, this is not
in that situation, it's a nerf. That's what I mean. Largely, it's a buff, but there will be situations where it's a nerf. Where it's a nerf.
Yeah, so here it can hit them all.
God, I just love watching this game. It's so fucking cool.
Oh yeah, dude, that's what I do now. Whenever I finish streaming and I raid someone, like, there's a very good chance I'm going to end up staying up all night just watching them, which is kind of awful. Because then I end up like, oh man, I should have just kept streaming. Anyway, that guy's going to destroy this thing. Let's bring out a smaller ship. Let's bring out a little guy, little Lasher. So, yeah, so the thing about the MIRVs though is that it's always kind of felt underwhelming for me, and what I tend to use them for is taking on stations, because the Griffin can support from further out. Because, like, you know, Reapers are great, but if the Griffin has to close ground in order to use its weapon, then yeah, look, this guy's maybe that's the accuracy. You saw how they kind of like they went in on him. That could be the accuracy that's getting buffed. In which case, those probably, like, if it's already not terrible, but
oh, you know what? Yeah, oh, that's interesting. So it might just be kind of a nerf unless you're doing weird stuff. Like if you get next to somebody and you fire the MIRVs.
Oh yeah, let's get up close to him. Will he let me get close? I don't think he will.
Yeah, because those are dumbfired now. It looks like they don't track once they home in.
Yeah, he let me get in.
Nerf.
Yeah, look how close.
Doing, like I said, really close and fire.
But you saw again, those two missiles that missed are the outside missiles that are going away.
Yeah, but fire. What I mean is, don't fire at him. Fire your MIRV like to the side.
All right. Yeah.
What I mean.
Oh, that's a cool something I want to experiment with as a broadside Griffin. So let's do this.
Yeah, like right there where you're pointing like 45 to 60 degrees away from him.
Oh, it just goes in.
Because it'll go in and then.
The MIRV's pretty good on the apogee. Speaking of, firing off the side, it tends to be the one I like. If I don't grab a Squall or a Swarmer, one of the other ones. The missile does a great job of pointing straight at him. Missed 5 on that one, 4. So yeah, that'll be exciting to see the change on that. But maybe it'll make the MIRV a little more viable because like I said, I only use it for very niche circumstances, and that's because it fires over other ships. Like if my fleet is all up front, it'll fire over them.
Yeah.
Geez, I'm only online too. Added a weapon. Added IR Auto Lance energy weapon is a medium mount beam weapon, low ordnance points cost. Uses charges, fragmentation damage, so it's a mini paladin. I guess that's why it's called the Auto Lance, Paladin's Lance. High burst, but low sustained DPS. Okay, that sounds kind of cool.
That would be really good on an Assassin Tempest.
Yeah, it's a medium mount, and it's a low ordnance points cost too.
Yeah, that would be insane on an Assassin Tempest.
And it's at 1,000 range fragment damage. Dude, you can have one of those in combination with your Graviton.
Yeah, you just have the Graviton beam, and then, was that armor damage, or was it shield damage?
Fragmentation.
Beam, both. Anti-shield. Yeah, the anti-shield damage. Yeah, that's fragmentation, but, when Graviton beams boost shield damage incurred by other weapons.
Oh, yeah, so that will buff... That'll buff, So, like, what can we...
That's what I usually leaned into myself, is more shield damage than everything else, because you're going to be hitting shields exponentially more often than everything else.
Yeah.
But you do need punch to get through armor, so, yeah.
So...
What is that? That's why I like energy weapons more than most people, because they do that. You can pressure shields, and then once the shields are down, you can go through armor fairly well.
Energy weapons are, in general, pretty good, and I find that a lot of my serious fleets that I build... It's the energy ships with energy weapons and energy weapons themselves that are the stars. Like right now, I've been flying a Harbinger a lot with the phase lances. That thing just cuts through almost anything. Anything the same size or smaller, it doesn't stand a chance. It's basically only cruisers that I struggle with. I mean, but, capital ships even, honestly, not that big of a deal. Although I have only been going up against the low-tech capital ships. I haven't hit like a Paragon or an Odyssey yet, or even a Conquest. But no, like I'm looking at this thing and it sounds like a small paladin. I mean, a medium paladin. So I'm guessing the fragmentation and the damage is going to be similar, but it does have longer range. So that is cool.
I mean, paladin is basically a point defense.
Yeah,
and it's still not fragmentation damage, but
no, I mean, so like I'm thinking what it says here when it says fragmentation damage, because it calls it a beam weapon, and beam weapons are universal except for the high intensity laser and the graviton beam, really. So are we expecting a new damage type, or are we expecting
fragmentation damage?
Okay, yeah, okay, then it's not really a paladin. Alright.
No, it's not a paladin. It's just an energy weapon that does fragmentation damage.
That's
fragmentation
weird.
damage is often maligned because it's a quarter damage to shields and to armor, so you have to be hitting non-shielded stuff. So it's really good. Well, that's one thing actually that energy mounts are lacking is the ability to quickly kill a ship. Although most people I don't think really use fragmentation, like the Thumper. I actually saw.
Yeah, I like Thumper.
Stuck. But then I saw a couple people say Thumpers are really good. Once you drop their shields and you rip through their armor facing, and you just throw a Thumper into them, and it kills them almost immediately.
Yeah, that's the thing about the Thumper. Yeah.
Fragmentation weapons do a shit ton of damage, but since they're quartered usually, because you're usually hitting shield or armor, they don't seem as good.
Yeah,
and the first weapon, because it uses charges. You get up as soon as you pop around to someone's side that their armor was stripped. You could just dump an entire mag and basically auto-delete anyone. It'll feel kind of like an LP brawler if you set it up to be one, which will be cool. And then you can put it on any ship with energy. It actually might make the blue guys brawler really good.
Do I have
Tachyon brawler?
Do I have a vigilance?
That's one problem I noticed is there's a distinct lack of good medium energy weapons.
Yeah, I do. Okay.
That's one reason the TP brawler kind of sucks wieners.
I don't think I have weapons there, though. I gotta go back to... Can I just delete all these ships real quick? I don't need them in my way. I'm actually gonna have to, like, create a save file on here where where I've deleted all of the patrols or something so I don't have to worry about them. Let's use a proxy charge. Funny. I just need to... And then let's do extended mags. And that's the other thing too about the Thumper that I like, and I wonder how this thing, it says low ordnance cost, uses charges. It doesn't say anything about the flux. Like the flux on Thumper, like it's a lot when you fire it, but it's not at the same time.
Flux per second sustained. Yeah. Is the Thumper a charge weapon too?
Yeah. Let's use it kind of clip. And, yeah, so I'm a little
base Thumpers are medium, yeah, so basically it's an energy version of that.
Yeah, which, honestly, kind of cool. Like, I'm excited for it. So let's punch this guy's armor out. And pour a Thumper in.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, so he's got exposed. Oh, I got broken hull. I got broke weapon. Probably should have used my shield, eh?
Probably. I have to wait for Thumper to repair.
I'm a charge hit by attack. I mean, that was a vigilance. So yeah, I mean, it's especially if you had like two of them pointed for, like, the thing about the Thumper that I've been noticing as I've been doing a lot more like early game knife fights, where it's like you start to keep track of where those Thumpers are, because if you, especially if you're doing you know which one, the file,
2,000 damage per shot. Right? Is that 100 times...
That was 100 damage times 20, yeah.
Shotgun, right? It's like a shotgun, right?
I mean, it's a minigun, but it spams out 20 rounds when you pull the clip. Here, I'll just run it to fire.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was looking away at something and I...
Here you go, I'll spam out to fire.
I thought the thumper was, I thought it was like a shotgun, kinda. But shoot it now? Oh, yeah, that's right.
And the recoil, it tends to spread out really quickly.
Yeah, but with a beam, imagine without the recoil, because that would actually that's the thing too. Because if you're really close, the thumper's good, but if the IR auto lance will basically be a longer range one, because it's 1,000 range.
Well,
what's the thumper's max range, like 600 or 700?
700.
And it recoils like crazy, so
yeah. Let's see how it works on auto fire real quick. Deploy. Just bring that mule back out. Not the mule.
Yeah, I wonder if it actually will delay and wait for armor to go down.
No, it doesn't. It just spams out.
It just goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't be good on auto fire then.
Yeah, but it recharges kind of quickly, so I just want to be like, this way I can focus on flying. That's what caught me last time, that antimatter blaster.
Shoot it.
Oh, it's on auto fire. Oh! Yeah, people are sleeping on the thumper.
Oh wow, holy shit, look how fast, yeah, I know.
And that's actually the way to do it, is if you don't want the weapon to waste, you just turn on the auto fire, or have it already turned on auto fire, and then hold fire.
What I'll often do is, if I'm using a different weapon group, is I'll leave it off auto fire, and then you hit the control toggle for auto fire.
Yeah, either the control
toggle
toggle
turned on, and you manually shoot, it'll shoot.
Yeah. If,
okay, so you can do that too.
So if you have it on auto fire and you have hold fire, I mean, you can still, any weapon you have manually selected, you can fire. And then, but if you take it off, like, I love messing around with the auto fire. Like, usually though, I build ships that are kind of like stupid easy to control, because I want something that the AI can control as well as myself. And if you try to do janky things with the auto fire, like, they just don't, it doesn't work out. Like, I've been noticing that when I use linked fire, or alternating fire, so like, the LP Brawler is even better when you alternating fire the chain guns, because it helps you manage the flux significantly more, but the AI just turns them on auto fire, and they don't when auto fire doesn't alternating fire. And I think that's because, like, if you did alternating fire on auto fire with like point defense for some reason, I don't know why it does it like that, but yeah, the auto fire doesn't do alternating fire. Anyway, so yeah, I'm auto lance. That sounds like it's gonna be pretty fun. Gorgon SRM pod. Missile fires a laser from a good distance away. So this is like a big. Okay, so we're hitting this chunk of like laser missiles. We're getting laser missiles. Like, because there's the Gorgon here, the Gazer says is a missile that fires 10-second graviton beam from long range. A missile that fires a 10-second graviton beam from long range, like, okay. Dragonfire torpedo, missile fires an extremely high damage bomb pumped, I'm guessing it's laser from medium long range. Hydra splits into 6 warheads that flank the target and fire medium damage lasers from both sides. Like, what is going on here? So we've got 2 small laser blasters, or laser missiles. No. These are medium pop. Yeah. The Gorgon and the Gazer are 2 separate things.
My high-tech build's getting some love.
So, like, there's a small and medium Gorgon and a small and medium Gazer. And then there's the medium and large Dragonfire. And then the Hydra large. So, yeah, there's some interesting laser boys coming out. Plus, the Pilum is getting a large variant. Which, okay, I guess. I mean, that means there's a large missile that recharges. So, that's not bad. Especially if it's a low ordnance points cost. It says low ordnance points cost. Now, when they say that, you can kind of predict what it's going to be. Because it won't be 12, and it won't be 18, I guess. Or maybe it will be 18. Like, the Pilum is a 7. which is just above, because like nothing in a smaller mount is going to be more ordnance points than something in a medium mount, and from medium to large as well. So it's going to be somewhere between 12 and 18 for a double Pilum. Now a double Pilum, I guess it's got to be like 13 or 14, right? Maybe 15, because Pilums are 7, and it's
it's less than 2 Pilums.
So it would be 13 then. That could be really cool. Because, like...
13, maybe 14. It might be even, but I can't imagine it's any higher than 14.
Yeah, I mean... If it is, no higher than 15. There's no way it could be higher than 15. Because if it's at... Honestly, even at 15, like... Just put the extra 5 points in and get a Squall. But the range, too, if it's going out to 400 range... Or 4,000 range, I mean... Because that's what the Pilum has, is that long range. It's that long range boy. Oh my god, it just occurred to me that Manicore, the LP Manicore, is getting a large missile rack. The Pilum Manicore. Oh, anyway. I'm going to enjoy building some dumb stuff with a lot of these weapons. But, yeah, we can't really talk about these guys because there's nothing really to compare these laser missiles to. Like, I'm thinking of them as like, what's that?
Oh, go ahead. I
was thinking of them as kind of being like, how the boring drones and the wasps, I'm picturing a missile that as you fire it, it's like pooping out that little laser. So it's like an on-demand boring squad, or depending on...
I know, yeah.
I'm wondering if...
I'll expect they'll like keep flying and then just keep shooting the laser out to the side as they fly.
Yeah. But I'm wondering if they because they're called SRMs. And the SRM we have are... So what does SRM mean?
SRM is short-range missile.
Short range. Okay, so they're short range. Alright.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing since there's a pod and a small... the pods tend to be... So maybe there's not a lot of them then. I'm guessing there's not a lot of them.
No, probably not.
Yeah. Or then again, the Annihilator, there's... the Annihilator's pod. And is the regular Annihilator called a pod? No, it's not. So there could be a lot of them. That's going to be interesting. Because that is... I mean, it's a missile that does neutral damage. Because they're beams. I mean, except for the Graviton beam, which is going to do kinetic. Which is even funnier. There's not going to... Oh my lordy, there's finally a missile that does kinetic! I've been looking for that for a while, because, you have the Squall, which is nice. Fantastic, but it's large. In the medium racks, all you have is Sabots. And honestly, I have mixed results with Sabots because they can just drop their shields.
Yeah, a lot of people I watched loves, like the one guy I was watching, he loved Sabots with his LP brawler, because he would drop the Sabots and then he would just use the chain gun.
That's a fun idea. I have to try that out.
And destroy people. And I don't like, for me, I don't like limited resources. That's the thing for me. That's why I like energy weapons.
Yeah. Oh, I get that.
Limited. Yeah,
oh, by the way,
to X missile shots per run.
A little bit of a piece of lore here that I don't think people have realized. The Sabot SRM single is the rarest weapon in the game. Period.
Yeah, I've noticed it's kind of hard to see. I'm trying to
mine! I've never seen them in the store.
I buy them whenever I see them, even though I never use them.
I never see them in the store. I don't even see, I'll get, weapons dealers won't even have them. Okay, do I even have the recipe for it? Okay, I have the recipe. But, I don't, weapons, the small missile weapons package that some of the weapons dealers have, don't have it. The big-time illegal weapons dealer, I don't think they have it. I never see them in the stores, except occasionally, maybe on Black Market in pirate and Luddic Panther bases, because the the pirate bases and the Ludic Pather bases out in the wild have some really strange tables for their market and black market. You can find some really interesting stuff there. Maybe you find them a little more there, but low-key it is like the rarest weapon in the game. But anyway, yeah, I'm excited for these because there's going to be a lot more versatile missile play, especially on the small mounts, because the Gorgon and the Gazer are both going to be on the small side. Like the Graviton Beamfire.
Too. They're also buffing Squall missiles, because you were talking about kinetic.
Yeah,
so they're reducing the
I saw that.
Squall missiles, and then they're actually making them kinetic blast, essentially. So they're 250 flat now. They'll be 350 against shields, which is then doubled by the kinetic modifier. So they'll do 700 damage per hit to a shield.
Oh, that's absolutely okay. So the buff against shield is going to be significant. That's really good, because you know what? Every time I fielded one of these specifically to hit and harass shields, I've been underwhelmed. Like, it's supposed to be the thing it does, and I don't think it honestly does it too terribly well.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. That'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. But now and the other thing too is, like, when I'm going up against it, it kind of scares me, not because of the way it hits shields, but because when my shield drops or I get popped, like, that thing is going to start drilling into me. Usually because I'm piloting a smaller ship where that damage is significant. Like, the Squall is actually more of a, like, it does suppress for damn sure, but it doesn't focus on shields. Like, it can hammer some frigates. Like, if you catch a frigate off guard, you can finish it with a Squall. That's going to change. It's going to definitely be much more specialized for its shield punching, and I'm happy for that, because maybe the AI will stop spamming it too.
Right.
But there's the jackhammer fires a 3-shot burst of hammer class torpedoes. I'm so happy for that, because there's no hammer in the mediums. It's like you've got the legendary hammer barrage, and you've got, the hammers on. You got 2 different hammers on the low end. I kind of like the hammers, especially when because they're cheap. Then when I'm doing like my, Ludic roleplay or just low Scumlord roleplay in general, like, throwing these extra hammers on randomly is fun. So getting a medium hammer, like, because there's not really, like, medium missiles kind of got, like, it's a weird category. Because you got the Salamander and the Pilums, those are nice. You've got the proximity charge launcher, which I am loving the more I use it, but it's like, that's a very strange weapon. You got the Sabot and the Harpoon pods, which are nice. The Breacher pods, nice. Annihilator pods, nice. But honestly, there's not really a lot of flexibility in here. And there's no Atropos launcher in the medium, which we're not getting in this update. Hopefully we'll get it in the next one. There's no hammer in here either. What I'm also noticing too is, like, some of the larger weapons, because one of the things they do with the design is, like, usually there's like a variant of each weapon when you go up or down a class, depending on where that weapon, like, so like with the with the missiles, you've got the pods and the medium, and the pods are, buffed up versions of the smaller ones. And then you also have, like, the Reaper launcher, which becomes a double Reaper launcher when you make it large. So there's not a swarm missile here either. Even though there's a small swarm missile and a large swarm missile, there's no medium swarm missile. I see breachers getting put on ships a lot of times, and I'm like, that probably should have been a swarm launcher, but there isn't one. So, and I often see the AI ships using the breacher as a swarm launcher, like, a lot of the same time. So it's very similar, but, like, I want a fragmentation swarm launcher on medium. It'd be great for point defense. But the proxy charge is actually surprisingly fun for point defense. But yeah, jackhammer, that's gonna be fun. Rift Cascade emitter. That's we don't talk about that. That's redacted. Squall. We already talked about the Squall. Breach SRM. Missile and weapon sprites adjusted to look more at home on high-tech ships.
I like that, because breaches look retarded half the time.
Oh, because they're yellow. I never even thought of them as high-tech weapons. Are they? Like air quotes high-tech?
Ships. No, yeah, they look out of place on high-tech ships, like, a lot.
Well, that's for sure, because they're yellow.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about.
But, like, I don't...
Certain weapons just look silly on high-tech ships.
I don't really think of them, though, as high-tech weapons, but, I mean, that's cool, because they do look really goofy.
High-tech ships need, they use missiles and high-tech, so...
Yeah, you got a point there. A lot of the missile launchers on the high-tech. Let's look at this guy. This is kind of goofy. Although I like my gumdrop build. Oh, you know what? The gumdrop build just got even better. Do we have another color we can put in here? No, I already got one of those. I need another color. Oh yeah, white. There we go. With gumdrops. It's covered in candy. But seriously though, just the using the swarmers, the antimatter blasters, and that ion pulse, it just looks so goofy from out in the distance. The weapons clash so much.
Yeah.
But with the breachers, it does look kind of goofy too. I guess I'm interested to see what that means though. Like, I could see getting rid of this yellow highlight would help. Maybe changing the tips of them too. But I mean, there's plenty of missiles that just look out of place on high-tech ships. Like the Swarmer themselves, they look kind of out of place on the high-techs as well. But that's definitely not really a high-tech weapon either.
Look all right. Yeah, the Swarmers look all right to me usually.
Well,
they're kind of small and nondescript, and the red goes really good with blue.
Red goes good with anything, basically. So there is that. But to me, they definitely stand out. But that's probably because I had the ion. If you take the ion beam out, it does look a little more at home.
Yeah, they stand out, but in a good way. The breachers don't stand out in a good way. They look fucking silly. Like, basically they're too big. If they shrunk them down a bit or something...
Well, let's get a...
it doesn't help that yellow's a really ugly color, so...
Do I have any... Oh yeah, this guy's got some missile mounts.
Only very special people like yellow.
Let's get some missile mounts on this side. Alright, so let's load this guy up with breachers. Here we go. Oh boy. Yeah, well, I'm curious how they're gonna actually gonna change it. Look at my boy. Look what they did to my boy. Oh, I never gonna put...
Even if you placed with all those little swarmers, they wouldn't look as out of place.
Yeah, but I can't because there's no medium swarm rack.
Like breachers. I just yeah, that too. I would be beside myself if they got fucking medium swarm missile racks and larges.
Yeah, that's honestly I'm kind of sad to see that that's not in this update. Like, to me, that seems like an obvious thing to add in, is a medium swarm rack, either on fragmentation or on damage or explosive. Like, either way, can we get a medium swarm rack, please? Let's go bully this mule, or not mule, buffalo. Hey, buddy. I mean, they do kind of look out of place because the guns, the ion pulsers, even though they're freaking green as can be, they don't really look too out of place at all on the ship. But those breachers stand out. And you know what it looks like? It looks like when you've got like those weird conditions where people suddenly get strange growths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that Uma.
It looks like some kind of strange growth has sprouted out of my hand. Like I've got warts and they're breacher missiles. Let's put some of these ships away because this is I need more room to work with on my palette. Alright. I got no. Whatever. We'll just have over crew. I'd rather have more crew than no crew. Typhoon Reaper launcher ammo increase. I like that. I think the Typer. I don't think it needed it necessarily, but when I put a single one on the Vigilance, that second weapon mount really matters because it's going to definitely run out of those Typhoons really quickly. So I'm happy to see that. Not a huge change, but still happy to see that. Yeah, so we're at 10 ordnance points. If you are on the Discord page, you can find the patch notes. This is based on. I found this post on it leads to a post on factorialsoftworks.com. Oh, hold on. Let me just go ahead and boop. There you go. Yeah, I got Nightbot set up to drop the hammer on most, like, Discord, YouTube, those kind of links are fine. Did it show? Because
no, I'm timed out now too.
Damn it! I clicked show. Oh, crap.
It just shows it for you. I don't think it lets it repost. Let me, I'll DM it to you, and you can, I have it open right here.
Hold on, let me just go ahead. It should let me post. There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
You got timed out. Bad Biff. Yeah, I'm still learning how to use Nightbot. I got him customized a little bit, and he mostly does what I want him to do. But yeah. Oh, my chat's now paused. Yeah. Oh, for that beautiful Tarsus that you put in there with the neon red lights. Yeah, we're Omni and I are playing around with the Tarsus, trying to make a pirate variant. Because nice. I love it so much, but at the same time, it is not good. I mean, it's a freighter. It's absolutely a freighter. But because but it's not a buffalo, so I feel like it needs some love to make it do more.
That's my gripe. Is I like the basic balance is not there. I wish it was.
What else we got here? Where were we? Oh, the Reaper. So yeah, I like the idea of going up to 7. Because I mean, it costs 10 ordnance points, whereas like a single Reaper costs 2. Maybe that's to bring it more in line with the jackhammer, because the jackhammer, like, you get 2 hammer torpedoes for 1 Reaper. If the jackhammer has like 14 rounds in it, or 50 or something, and it only costs 10, because medium missiles all cost 10, then yeah, maybe that's to like make it stand out from the jackhammer a little bit more. And then the refire, or not the refire, but the firing delay on the Cyclone, it's now going to poop out those Reapers almost back to back. Because it quarters the time. And they accelerate to full speed prior to leaving the tube. Let's bring my Griffin back out. Let's put a Reaper on him. You know what? Let's do the Reaper Griffin real quick. So what you do is you warm up your Griffin with a few Reapers up front, then you drop in some Reapers on the side, and then, bam, the big boy up front. Alright. And let's bully that Buffalo again. So, dung, dung. I mean, they look like they come out pretty quick. But, I don't know. It's probably needed. That's probably more what it's going to look like now. On the front, that, like, faster. And you know what? It's going to be much easier for them to hit now, too. Not hit, but, like, get through point defense, since they're coming back to back instead of one at a time. Poor guy. Let's bring another guy out. Here, bring out the mule. I really want to play around with a broadside Griffin. It's just, I gotta learn how to fly with without using shift. Like, Oh my god, it's so weird. Because I want to point my guns. Alright, here we go. Boop, boop. So that's like more what it's going to be like when they change the refire time. That bloop bloop. As opposed to... So I saw a post that described the Reaper as the nuclear missile. I think it was on the wiki. Like, I was like, they're referring to a mod, right? Or is the Reaper supposed to be a nuclear missile?
I don't know. I saw that, but I'm not sure.
Because I saw it.
I use missiles a lot, and I don't use high-end missiles a lot.
Huh. I mean, they do have a huge-ass explosion.
Yeah.
Unguided torpedo, devastating yield.
Like Battlestar Galactica, those, yeah. When you're using Starship scale stuff, nuclear missiles aren't as big and impressive as they look like on blowing up a city.
That's true, yeah. I mean, if we think about how how much people are on this thing, this crew's like 400?
Yeah,
150?
Half the devastation of a nuclear bomb that we know is because it's in an atmosphere. If you remove
that too, yeah. If you remove the atmosphere, a lot of it becomes the ion, the EMP, is a lot more important as well. But then again, no, hold on. Removing the atmosphere, even. Like, completely. I don't even know at all how that works out. I guess it would still transfer, the majority of its kinetic energy through the target struck. But you're not going to get the massive shock wave. You're not going to get the heat transfer because it's in a vacuum. So you're not going to have, a blast wave that goes out and vaporizes things. Because there's no atmosphere to do that with. You're not going to get the shock wave, which is a lot of the damage the nuclear missile does, is that shock wave. And the radiation, I don't know how that's going to work in the vacuum. Is that I could see that being
decided to make crew more of a thing besides just a number.
I know that if you detonate a nuclear missile on the moon, it gets really intense. There's a Kierkegaard video about that. Essentially, like you said, because there's no atmosphere, the blast is very different. But the much more important thing is, if no matter where you detonated that nuclear missile, the entire moon would go through such intense earthquakes because of the impact.
Yeah.
That basically destroys everything on the moon. Any kind of structures that were built. So one nuclear missile just resets the whole moon.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. A very cool video to watch, and it talks about how because there's no atmosphere to compress the blast wave, it actually is much you don't get a shock wave, but the actual blast is actually very large because it's not getting compressed by the atmosphere. There's no mushroom cloud.
Yeah.
So I guess in a vacuum. Anyway, talk about nerd shit all day
I hate
long.
to dip, but I have other things I need to get to, unfortunately. So,
no worries, dude.
If going on with the rest of the stuff, I'll talk to you about it later. Especially when we get some hands-on, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, who knows when the patch actually comes out? These are just the notes. They wanted to stress. They stressed that so hard that my guess is that the actual patch is probably still a month or months out. But we'll see.
But
anyway, thanks for joining me. We're still on for tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we can do something tomorrow. For sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Awesome, sounds good.
Have fun. So Omni, you want to get on that voice chat? I mean, I'm in the voice chat on the Discord. That's what Bith was joining me on. So you're more than welcome to join in if you want to chat. And Cheesecake Man is still... he's muted now as well, so he can't hear me in the chat. Are you watching on there? Because I see you in the Discord chatting. Civilian-grade harpoon. What? Anyway, So that's actually, we got through most of the weapons with Bith, because we touched on most of them. Oh, I didn't even get to these two new weapons that the kinetic blaster and the giga cannon. Like, kinetic blaster, what even is that? Like, do we have any? Like, kinetic makes me think it's going to be a ballistic. Excuse me. It's going to be a ballistic mount. But a blaster? Like, is there anything in here that says kinetic? I guess we have the hyper velocity driver. Is like a kinetic sort of thing. Yeah, the auto lance. I don't like. Or the what's it called? Is it called auto lance? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go again? Yeah, it is called auto lance. IR auto lance. Yeah, I was talking with Bith about that. It's like we're wondering if it's going to be kind of like a thumper, only for energy weapons. Like we're a little on the hype side for that too. Like honestly, I'm hype about every single thing on here because everything sounds interesting. All the balancing and the like, I'm in. Like I don't think there was a single thing that I read that I wasn't happy with. Yeah, it's all looking really good. The Hephaestus assault gun having the recoil. Let's bring out the Hephaestus real quick and see what that looks like right now. Because I don't use a lot of those. Let's go ahead and get those on the same link. Okay. So here we have our Hephaestus. Yeah, you know what? That's going to be really good because, I mean, I think this thing is built for long range, this one. Hold on, let me double check. Yeah, integrated targeting. But, I mean, long range is like the name for large ballistic mounts because a lot of the large ballistic mounts are on slower ships. So you really kind of want that long range. So the fact that they're long range and then, I mean, that's not terrible on the recoil, but that's going to get, I was going to say halved. The recoil is going to get halved, so that's going to be a much tighter spread. Yeah, that's cool. Oh, I'll get back up to the ships. Let's talk about weapons. Let's talk about weapons. We're almost done with weapons, then we can switch to ships. So yeah, kinetic blaster and giga cannon. Kinetic blaster. Where are blasters? I think blasters are almost exclusively on the small side, right? Let's bring out that Medusa again. Because if I'm correct in this, you've got antimatter blaster. Oh, is the kinetic blaster gonna be like a ballistic antimatter blaster? Oh my lordy, that could be amazing. That could be really cool. Kinetic blaster. Maybe it's a ballistics antimatter blaster variant. Oh yeah. The Aurora is gonna have a weapon that it can pour into people when their shield or when their armor is popped. Yeah, it could be cool. Yeah, like a slug launcher. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So something that like it just pumps out like a really like that's going to be interesting. Like, what do we have for ballistics? Like, is there something that just punches? Like, I'm looking for kinetic. Oh, maybe the Gauss cannon? Maybe it'll be like the Gauss cannon. Because that's a kinetic slug. So if we're looking at this as a small mount, so it just punches for like 700 kinetic, that could be kind of cool. Well, hold on, let's look at the antimatter blaster again. So antimatter blaster does 1400 damages. So good. My baby is so beautiful. I love it. It's the best. Heavy blaster, on the other hand, only does 500. So now it's much slower, the antimatter blaster, so it's not a great direct comparison. But what I'm trying to get the shape of this weapon we haven't even seen yet. There's no details about it here. Give me a large. Yeah, give me a large energy mount. Get up! No, stop. the Beatles want to play. Yeah, there's nothing in the, I guess, plasma cannon. It's like plasma cannon, each shot is only 500. The firing rate, yeah, well, so that's the thing, though, is that, much shorter range. Yeah, much shorter range, and much longer firing rate. Well, it's not much shorter, but it is shorter range, so that's 1/3 less. But I'm just trying to figure out, like, the damage here for it is huge compared to, like, the heavy blaster. Even, like, the mining blaster's damage is still pretty kind of huge as well. But on the large mount, like, even the plasma cannons, the plasma cannon matches the TPS shot for shot, but the individual shots on the plasma cannon are only 500. So, I'm thinking with this new weapon, you can get away with a lot. Like, the largest hitting single shot for ballistics is, I think, the Gauss cannon, or is it no, the Hellbore does 750, but it's described as kinetic. It's described as kinetic, so I'm looking at kinetic weapons. All right, that's what I'm going on. So, the Gauss cannon at 700, and then you have the hypervelocity driver, which is more EMP than kinetic. What I'm thinking is we could end up with a small ballistic weapon that does like 1,500 damage. It could be very similar to the antimatter blaster. It could even be more because it's specifically kinetic. The antimatter blaster is a beam, or not beam, is energy, so it's neutral. Whereas since this is a kinetic weapon, like, we could see a 2,000 damage shot. I could see that doing 2,000 damage. Double against shields, it would because that would then immediately pop, like, really easily, a lot of shields. Then again, the antimatter blaster does that. Maybe it will end up doing less. I mean, the antimatter blaster, it's kind of hard to compare things to, because it's a very unique weapon. But because it's called a kinetic blaster, like, is there another weapon that uses the term blaster? The heavy blaster. Okay. Yeah, we have heavy blaster as well. So maybe it's going to be more similar to the heavy blaster than it will be to the antimatter blaster. It's, where is it? Just kinetic blaster. I lost it. Yeah, kinetic blaster and giga cannon. For the Lion's Guard, who are the Lion's Guard? Because, like, I see a lot of things for Lion's Guard. Are they adding a new faction, or is this like a new variant? So, like, is it the Persian League, the Lion's Guard? Like, do they have what is Lion's Guard? Is that something I'm just not? Because I'm really bad with the lore. Lion's Guard. Oh, they're the Dictat. Okay. They're the Lion's Guard are the Dictat crew. That's cool, because the Dictat always seemed like they never really had like their own unique flavor. Okay, yeah, Sindrian peeps. Oh, yeah. Their patrols are called Lion Guard, so they're getting a lot of different ships. A lot of the ships are the new ships being added are Lion's Guard specifically. Hey, Rain Man, thanks for joining. So we're talking about the Lion's Guard right now because we're reading up on the weapons at the moment. I started with weapons because I'm so hyped for the weapons. Kinetic Blaster and Giga Cannon are what we're talking about now, and it specifically says here, only available from the Lion's Guard. That means we're definitely talking about ballistic weapons, not energy weapons. I think that's a certainty. So I think we're, but like the only things called blasters, because I'm talking about kinetic blasters specifically, are the antimatter blaster, the heavy blaster. Are there other blasters I'm forgetting about? Like, there's no medium or ballistic weapons that are called blasters, are there? No. So to me, like, Giga Cannon sounds like it's got to be a large weapon mount. Purple people eaters. I never thought about calling the antimatter blaster that. That's great. I love it. It even kind of looks like a purple, one-eyed purple people eater. I mean, it's two-eyed, but yeah. So I'm picturing with this kinetic blaster, either it's going to be kind of like the heavy blaster, only a ballistics. So it'll be a medium, and maybe because like if you look at the medium mounts, there is actually kind of a gap on the kinetics. Because you have the heavy autocannon and the arbalist. That's fun. But, like, the hypervelocity driver is not really a side-by-side with the heavy mauler. Then you have the heavy needler. Maybe it's... Oh, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. Because there's a lot of kinetics, but... I don't know. I feel like there needs to be... There's not a lot of punch. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of exactly what I was trying to get at. There really isn't a big punch here. Like, the hypervelocity driver is a lot but it's really only punches shields. Although, if you neglect to keep an eye on that thing, it will shred your frigate. But against, like, larger targets, they don't care. And, I mean, even against larger shields can shrug this thing off. Like, an apogee? Try and punch it through an apogee with a single hypervelocity driver. Good luck. But like something, and then the heavy mauler's refire is really slow too. So yeah, I guess we're looking at a kinetic, heavy blaster variant. It's like a medium, more rapid fire, not rapid fire, but like a medium fire, that sounds like it's going to be fun. Like what we're thinking at least. Now, Giga Cannon. What the heck is the Giga Cannon going to be? Like, I can't imagine where this fits in on these large ballistics. Yeah, I can't even think. Maybe it's supposed to. Oh, you know what? Okay, I think I get what they're going here. Here we go. So if you look at the energy weapons, which I'm not ruling out that this is going to be a kinetic guarantee. This could actually be an energy weapon because don't the Lion's Guard have Sunders? Anyway, so if you look at the large energy weapons, there's only 5. If you look at large ballistics, there's 7. Which is another thing making me think that this might be a energy weapon, this Giga Cannon. Maybe it is, but like we already have a hyper beam in the Tachyon Lance, and we already have a plasma cannon. So that makes me think like Giga Cannon isn't going to be an energy mount, unless it's like an antimatter. A large antimatter blaster, in which case that could be insane. I think it's more likely to be a large ballistics because we're still talking about the Lion's Guard. Hold on, this is my wiki page. Tell me about like. No, it doesn't tell me what they have, what they're about. Like, hold on, let me see the Dictat. Can I see the Dictat's fleet? Like, Hammerheads and Conquests are with the Lion's Guard severely to field more advanced ships with Empire with Tachyon ships. What does it say? What? It has 3 planets. Oh, another thing to think about, they're the fuel production guys, antimatter fuel production. Maybe this Giga Cannon is an antimatter weapon. I'm thinking it's an antimatter weapon. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is going to be an antimatter weapon. All right, let's break out some ships real quick. I'm going to go fly over there and look at some of their look at what they've got going on. Let's bring some honor guard. I want to get eyes on Alliance Guard, see what kind of ships they're flying. Get out of this lag pit. I really need to change up my maybe move my home to a different area, because having all 3 of the patrol bases here really turns this into a pit of lag for my poor PC. It like just wants to burn up. Like you can smell the toast cooking. Oh, then I got a lot of stuff open up in the background too, so that's definitely not helping. Like my little PC, I normally just run it with only Starsector on. Oh, that scrolling doesn't help. Ugh. Pardon me with all this horrific lag. But like I got Chrome open, I got Discord open. Okay, let's get over here. Find some Lion's Guard. They'll probably be hanging out by the base, right? If not, I can just cause a ruckus and just bring them coming. Hold on. Turn my transponder before. That'll definitely get if I want some attention from the Lion's Guard. Oh, I'm also not using shift. There we go. Alright. Dictat. Lion's Guard Patrol. Conquest, Griffin. Is that the 14th battle group? What's it called? Fast Picket's got a Fury. This Lion's Guard's got a Falcon. It's also got Shrikes and Wolves. But they're getting their own ships now. So this is probably going to change a lot. So I'm seeing like there's some medium energy mounts, large ballistic mounts, medium energy mounts. I'm not really seeing any large energy mounts. Oh, there's some Sunders in here. But I think in general, yeah, it's probably going to change a lot because they're adding a bunch of new ships. So let's keep going through this real quick because we'll come back to the Lion's Guard when I get to like the new ships, because I'm sure that's at the top of the list. And we're almost done with weapons. Update Swarmer SMR to better suit its intended role. But yeah, it's not really a anti-fighter. It's not really anti-fighter. It can be used as anti-fighter. We were talking about this with Bith earlier when he was joining us. Swarmer SRM launcher. It's anti-small craft, yeah, but the fact that it does high damage and not fragmentation, or high explosive and not fragmentation, means it's actually really good at punching through enemy armor and pressuring enemy frigates. Like, just in general, it's more like, it's actually better than the Breacher. If you look at the DPS, like the Breacher per salvo will do more against armor because it's got the extra additional damage that is not reduced by armor. But there's more missiles in the Swarmer racks, so you can sustain your fire with significantly more missiles in the Swarmer racks. I always forget that the Breacher has this extra damage against armor, but against like fighters, I don't know. But it's gonna get like, they're okay against anti-fighters. That's kind of what I use them for, but that's not the only thing they do. So I'm glad that that's getting upgraded description, because I feel like a lot of players don't realize how good the Swarmer racks actually are. Long-range point defense laser reduced ordnance points costs. I'm glad that's happening, because if you look at the long-range point defense, it costs 5. Regular point defense costs 4. However, the damage is nerfed, so it's not really like better than the point defense laser necessarily. So the idea that they're both going to be 4, that's going to give you a lot of flexibility now on, like, do you want to do long range point defense or short range point defense? Because they're at the same level. So I like that, especially considering, like, when I put point defense on something, I'm usually putting several on there. So going from long range to like going up to long range usually means I have to sacrifice for point defense that doesn't do as much damage. So I'm glad that's getting changed. It's going to make point defense a little more flexible. Plus the burst, we talked about this earlier as well, the burst point defense and the heavy burst laser those getting reduced in cost, increased in charges. The increase in charges means now when you put, because as it is, they have a 3 and a 5. So if you put expanded magazine on, you only get 4 on the one and 7 on the other. Now they're going to increase to 4 and 6. So with extended mag, you'll actually get, because there's a rounding issue with extended magazine. It's going to truncate. It's not going to give you. It's not going to round up. It gives, so you end up with not getting a good boost out of that. So, and they're getting their costs reduced. The heavy burst laser is getting a little bit more damage, but it's no longer going to ignore enemy flares. But that's not necessarily a big issue, because you can just put in the integrated point defense mod, which will allow all of your point defense to ignore flares. So if anything, this is the extra damage, I think, is going to be more enjoyed than the ignoring flares. Especially since, like, it's not like missiles have flares, and I mostly want my point defense to protect me from these missiles that are flying at me. So having the extra damage is going to help, and the extra charges is going to help with that a lot more. I mean, being able to take down enemy fighters is also important, of course, but I don't like the energy weapons and the energy point defense in general, because I feel like they're underwhelming, specifically in taking down enemy missiles. So hopefully that makes these the burst lasers better at taking down missiles, especially. The graviton beam is getting, I think, is a huge buff, a game-changing buff, because graviton beam is like bread and butter. Like, that's such a good medium energy mount for support ships, for offensive ships in general. And now it's going to do multiple. It's going to increase the damage that okay, so I'm just going to read it as is. 1, 2, 3 or more full strength beams hitting shields increases all anti-shield damage dealt to the target by 5, 8, and 10% respectively. So if you have multiple graviton beams hitting a target, and this is including other ships doing damage to them, and including the graviton beam itself, right? All anti-shield damage dealt to the target. So multiple graviton beams are now going to be able to debuff shields. That's really cool. Even just one graviton beam is going to debuff the shield, so it takes 5% extra damage. And I don't know about you guys, but I love the graviton beam because it's low flux, long range. It's great to put on ships to harass enemy shields, but I've been noticing that it doesn't actually do that very well, especially against harder shields. There are 1,000. Graviton beam, it does 1,000 range, it does 100 damage, and it's a kinetic, so it does 200 damage against shields. But only 50 against armor, which is kind of disappointing. And it doesn't add hard flux, because it's a beam weapon. But now, even though it's not going to add hard flux, it is going to make all weapons more effective against those shields. They're one of these weapons that's like, as is, I like the role they're trying to fill, but they're not doing it as good as I think they should be. And this is going to be a game changer. It's now going to actually be a legitimate, like, full-on support weapon. Because I always compare it to the ion beam. It's like, do I want graviton beams or ion beams? Because they have the same range, but they operate on different functions. You know, ion beam is for EMP. It's really good when the enemy shields are down. And I will often pair these two weapons together, either in the fleet or on a ship that has two weapon mounts. Because now it's like, well, if you keep your shield up, the graviton beam's hitting you. But if you put your shield down, the ion beam's hitting you. You have no good options. And now the graviton beam is going to make that second ion beam even better, because now that ion beam is going to do extra damage against the shield with that graviton beam hitting it. Dude, this is going to be really nice. I'm really happy for that graviton beam change. And the ion beam is getting its flux reduced as well. It's going to go from 200 a second to 150, which is fantastic. So good. Like, I'm very happy about that, because honestly, its high flux cost was one of the reasons why I tend to choose the Graviton Beam over it. So the Ion Beam getting that change is really nice. Very happy about that. Pulse Laser, improved flux efficiency. Where's that Pulse Laser at? Improved flux efficiency to 0.8, added to base blueprint package. Well, that's nice. That's Pulse Laser, regular Pulse Laser. Pulse Laser. I was thinking the little Pulse Laser. No, this is the big Pulse Laser that's getting changed. Okay, so that means the flux per shot is going to be 80 instead of 100. That's nice. That's really nice, because the pulse. One of my biggest problems with the medium Pulse Laser is it's so flux intensive that it's really hard to use. Now it's going to be almost on par. I mean, its flux per second is still going to be really huge, but the per shot, like, that's nice. I guess that's just, yeah, because the IR Pulse Laser isn't the one that's getting it, it's the Pulse Laser. Yeah. Okay, because, that makes sense. They're bringing it in line with the Pulse Laser, the IR Pulse Laser, because the IR Pulse Laser is already 0.8, so now the big one's getting dropped down to 0.8 as well. That's nice. Yeah, I'm happy about that. I only just started using them because I was struggling to find, like, ways that I felt like they were actually good, but because a lot of the problem was the flux. They're just so expensive to fire. And I would put them on, like, I put them on the Medusa now with alternating fire. That's going to make that a lot more viable too. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's cool. So now we're down to my favorite part, and there's a couple other after this, but this is the thing that I was honestly, of all the things that are getting added, and I'm excited about a lot of stuff, but of all the things that are getting added, especially in the weapons, this is the thing that excited me the most. The mining laser is getting reduced to cost only 1 ordnance point, and it is being changed to a hybrid mount, to a hybrid weapon. So first of all, we now have an official hybrid weapon that you can just get. That alone is fantastic. And the Mining Blaster is getting a similar change to being a hybrid weapon as well. But the Mining Blaster has a lot more changes that we're going to talk about after I finish with gushing over the Mining Laser. Because this is worth gushing over. First of all, it's got a 600 range. So it's kind of in between on the range on the point defense lasers. But it does really underwhelming damage at 30 damage per second. But it's super cheap on its flux. I think it actually has, it is the best for flux of probably any energy weapon, but certainly any of these smaller energy weapons, and certainly any of the point defense and the other lasers. It's 1/3, it's 1 to 3, it's 0.33. That's really, really good for flux management. And it's going to only cost 1, and you're going to be able to put it on ballistic mounts or energy mounts because it's going to be a hybrid weapon. This thing is going to this doesn't just bring it from a niche meme weapon into a legitimate weapon to consider, because it's only going to cost 1. So if you have a ship that has a lot of empty mounts, just throw some mining lasers on there. It's barely going to cost you any flux. They're going to add extra point defense. Oh my lordy. I am very excited for this. And not just because of the meme runs. And I'm absolutely going to do the Miner Revolt. This is going to be my the day this patch drops, I'm doing Miner Revolt playthrough. Mark your calendar. Sometime in 2025 when this patch actually releases. Mark your calendar. I want to specify again, these are patch notes. The patch is not releasing yet. And the post specifically stressed this. So my guess is that we are at least a month, if not a couple or several months out from the patch actually releasing. But because there's so much information here, and based on all the information that is here, my guess is it's not going to be, it's definitely coming out this year. And I would like to think they wouldn't tease us like this if it wasn't coming out within a couple of months. But that's just pure speculation and rumor. Alright, so But yeah, I'm very hyped about this mining laser. As soon as this patch drops, I'm absolutely doing the mining laser only play. I'll use some of these other weapons maybe mixed in. I should say mining laser focused play, where it's like, I use most of the. I want to put these on the Colossus Mark II, especially where it's got like 12. Is it 12? I keep thinking it's 12. I think it's actually 10. Where is this sucker? It's a pirate. Where's pirates? Yeah, 12 ballistic mounts. It's so expensive to fill those mounts. If you're filling those mounts, you're probably using terrible fighters. And I don't want to use terrible fighters on my carriers. Terrible fighters are for converted fighter base. But now I can fill all 12 of those mounts with just 12 ordnance points. And it's all point defense to protect it from missiles and fighters itself. Like, excuse me. That's going to be really cool. Plus, they don't cost a lot of flux. Only 10 per. So, it pays for itself now, practically. Like, you can put 1 point in there. Like, this change. Because now you go, if you put 1 point in your vent for every mining laser you put down, they just, for 2 ordnance points, it pays for itself. Like, it's fantastic. I love it. And the mining blaster, like I said, is also getting changed to a hybrid, which, again, I think that's a really cool change that's going to allow, the mining blaster, it's not getting cheaper, though. It's staying at the same cost. It's getting other changes that are going to make it, I think, I'll have to go through this again with my logic. I think it's essentially getting a buff. But it sounds like it's a nerf. But I think it's going to actually be... It is kind of a nerf, but it's kind of a buff, but it's kind of not... It's hard to say. It reads weird. So the it's going to be changed to a charged weapon so like it regenerates charges with a maximum of 4 charges. But it doesn't say anything about changing how fast it fires, and it doesn't say how fast it recharges. So like it's already got a really slow refire. Does anything with charges refire this slowly? Maybe the Pilum? Because like the burst lasers, their refire is a quarter of that. Because there's not really like what else fires on a charge? Was a thumper? I mean, it's a thumper kind of, but that thing fires out like 20 shots when it fires. I mean, the salamanders and whatnot. No, not salamanders. The pilums. Like they refire really slow when they have that. Like this is speculation, but I'm thinking what's going to happen here is that it might fire faster, but the recharge is going to make it so the sustained fire isn't going to be anywhere near as intense as potentially what it is now. Because right now it actually does quite a bit of damage. Like 700 per shot is pretty freaking good. It's also getting changed to... Yeah, so it's getting changed to 200 per shot plus 100 armor only damage. I'm guessing that armor only is going to ignore armor similar to the breachers. And this is also why I'm thinking that it's going to have a changed refire delay. Because if it got changed to 200 damage with a 100 damage only, and it gets changed to high explosive, because it is getting changed to high explosive, then that's going to be like a terrible weapon. Like that's not even on par with some of the like light weapons. And flux per shot is getting changed to 300. So essentially, what I'm thinking is a lot of these stats are getting quartered. Like the flux per shot is getting quartered. So what I'm imagining here is when it's fully charged, maybe the refire delay will also be quartered. So in that 2 seconds, it can fire all 4 shots. And get close to the damage that it used to do after firing those 4 shots. But then you're going to need to retreat and reload. Its sustained fire is going to be much less. I'm happy about this. I am. Because I think mining blasters, especially in the early game, if you do early game knife fighting, by that I mean like instead of getting a huge fleet, you're actually playing with a smaller fleet and getting into fights where like your frigates and destroyers are fighting other frigates and destroyers and there's not a lot of cruisers around. Like those early game knife fights, the mining blaster is actually kind of scary. Like, it punches pretty hard. I think this will allow, actual military grade shields to protect a little better against the mining blaster. And make it a lot less scary there. Whereas if it's used carefully, the fact that it's now going to have extra damage, significantly extra damage against armor. Because it's now going to deal 500 damage per shot against armor, with 100 of that damage potentially ignoring the armor. I'm guessing that's what that means when it says plus 100 armor only damage. It means that it's similar to the Breacher. If you look at the Breacher missile, it has 250 damage extra to armor, damage to armor, that ignores the damage reduction by armor, but it's still high explosive, so it's also dealing that extra damage against armor as well. So in fact, against armor, each missile does 550 damage, with 250 of it being completely ignoring the armor damage reduction. So if we're seeing something like that on the mining blaster, then that's 500 damage per shot against armor, bringing it up to like 2,000 damage in like after all those clips, after its clip is emptied. Like that's something that could be very scary to go up against, especially if that same ship has like machine guns harassing your shields, and it's just you're just staring down the barrel of this mining blaster as your flux builds up and builds up and builds up. Or if it slings a sabot at you and suddenly your shield is popped and now this got this mining blaster, like, this is going to be fun. And it's going to be a hybrid mount, so you can put it on so many different ships. Like, I'm excited about this a lot, the 2 changes here, because having a hybrid weapon, that's going to be so nice. It's going to become a weapon that's actually not just viable, but something that you will want to consider. Like, especially in the early game. In the early game, a lot. Yeah, I'm definitely happy about this. Very happy. My little early game pirate wolves are going to be buff now. Then we get the tactical laser. Flux is getting reduced. That's really nice. Because a single tactical laser is crap, but multiple tactical lasers are nice. However, the fact that it costs 75 flux to fire is rough. So now that it's getting reduced to 60 instead of 75, yeah, I'm happy about that. That's just all bonus. Very nice. In general, it seems like energy weapons got a lot of love, and I'm very happy for that, because it tends to be, at least when I see an energy weapon mount, I tend to just put the same things on it, and it tends to be an underwhelming mount, unless I'm putting antimatter blasters on it. Like, I'm excited for this. These weapon updates are great. And the proximity charge launcher added some inaccuracy to the direction of the launch, and no longer affected by missile flight time and speed/acceleration modifiers. Because previously the ECCM package would actually reduce its range. I think the proximity charge is a very interesting weapon. It's definitely a very unique and strange weapon. I think this is a good change, the inaccuracy to the direction of the launch, because it does seem like it's actually a little too good. Like, I was playing around with it, and you can basically slide, like, shuffleboard slide this thing right smoothly where you want it to be, and literally just end an entire pack of fighters or missiles. So I think this change is needed, even though I don't hear a ton of people screaming about how great it is. Like, it's probably a change that does need to happen. Just fine. I'm still going to use it. Still going to love it. All right. There's a lot to talk about, but let's go. I was just in weapons. Real quick, fighters. They're adding a Ceres class support fighter. It has 0 roam range, and it always stays in front of the parent ship, armed with a canister flak system and 2 light autocannons. So these things sound like the ultimate point defense fighter. Like, that's kind of cool. I'm interested to see how much they cost. It doesn't say how large the wing is. It just says... Yeah, it just says that, as I said. Armed with a canister flak system and 2 light autocannons. I'm interested to see how the canister flak system works on those. Because canister flask is kind of a nifty thing. That's something that's found on the Mana Core, for those who aren't familiar. And, where is it? Manticore. Do I not have the... I don't have the Manticore. Are you kidding me? I don't have the Manticore recipe. Okay. That's funny. I thought I had all the recipes. Apparently I'm still missing a few. Alright. Well, do I have one in my fleet? I don't think I do. Oh, I'm not nowhere near. I'm out in Syndria right now. Let's see if we can find one in Syndria real quick. Get eyes on. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. Thank you. Canister flak, right? Yeah, canister flak system. So fires a large number of flak canisters with variable time proximity fuses all around the ship. Each canister deals 200 high explosive damage in an area and is targeted to avoid friendly fire. And now, having this, it just says canister flak system. I'm guessing it won't be as intense as the Manticores, which fires like several all around it. I imagine on a fighter it's going to be smaller, but maybe it won't be. I don't know. It always feels kind of underwhelming on the Manticore. Like, I'm imagining that it's going to be like a Big Bang kind of attack, where it just explodes everything around you, and it really... I don't know. I need to experiment with it more, too. But seeing that on a fighter, and it's got 2 light autocannons as well, which the range on those is pretty good. Like this, so like this is a very interesting fighter. I can see this, depending on how much the ordnance points cost is. I could see building this into a converted hangar and putting this on a lot of different ships for not just a support ship, but to assist in punching shields with those autocannons. I imagine it's going to be either a 2 fighter wing or even a single fighter wing, depending on how buff that canister flak system is. I'm imagining either a single or dual fighter wing, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's single because we only have the Cobra Bomber for singles, and so a single fighter wing, like if it's really good, it'd be kind of cool. Water's good. All right, so let's scroll up to our ships. We'll start from the top on ships. There's a lot of speculation here. Like, there's so many ships that they're like... I mean, so they're only adding... Okay, I'm excited because a lot of these are just brand new. But they're adding 10 ships. 4 of them are just straight-up variants of ships we already have. And one of them is going to be a variant of a ship that they're introducing. But that's 10 new ships, and... the variants that are listed here... it's 10 new ships. 3 of them are variants we already have, and 1 of them is a variant of the ship we already got. So we're getting 6 brand new ships. And the 3 variants that they're describing, the Venture, the 2 Ventures, and the Manticore, they have different mounts. So they're getting changed, so there won't just be a recolor. Very happy about that. Alright, so from the top, the Apex class heavy drone ship. It's called a drone ship. Does that mean we're looking at a new redacted boy? Heavy drone ship. Apex class heavy drone ship. Because I was thinking that it was some kind of like drone tender thing. Maybe this maybe it's a derelict. Apex. Apex doesn't follow the naming theme for the redacted boys we have. The derelict though, they have like, no, I don't know that follows their naming conventions either. It doesn't follow any of the conventions of the other ships being introduced. We're gonna look at some of the other drone ships real quick. Because we have Glimmer, Radiance, and Brilliance. Like, those are all like light themes. Then you got the Fulgent and the what's that derby carrier called? I can't remember what that thing is called. Yeah, these are drone ships. So yeah, I guess it's a new redacted ship. Apex class heavy drone ship. Maybe a cruiser? Or another frigate. But the thing that I'm thinking of is the fact that there's not a capital ship for the derelict drone ships. Or like, what's their actual name? I forget. Is it the derelicts? Anyway. So that's going to be interesting. And then we have here the Nova class drone battle cruiser. Huh. Because I was thinking these were ships that we're going to get on, like, but these sound like they might be enemies. You know, drone battle cruiser. It's weird that they would call it a drone battle cruiser, whereas the other one's called a drone ship. Oh, no. Yeah, no. So this guy's called a drone battleship. So I guess drone battle cruiser is going to be a new cruiser, or a new redacted cruiser. Then we have heavy drone ship. And these guys are drone ships, the little guys. So it may be a new frigate and a new cruiser for the redacted. I think that's what we're looking at. I think we're looking at a new frigate and a new cruiser. The Apex class and the Nova class. That's going to be interesting. Alright. Maybe they're going to be, they won't be the, shiny boys. Maybe they'll be the derelict boys. But I think we're looking at new frigates for the shiny boys. The shiny redacted. Alright, but then we have Pegasus class battleship, which is described as midline. So a new midline battleship, which is very nice, because what do we got for midline battleships? Just the one, isn't it? Yeah, we got 2 high tech, 3 really, or 2 really low tech. So 2 high tech, 2 low tech, and then just the 1 mid. So yeah, we're getting we're finally getting a second midline battleship. That'll be fun. Pegasus class. Do we have anything else named, like, after horses, or... I'm trying to think of, like, based on the naming convention, if we can suss out any sort of... We got the mule. Are we looking at a souped up mule? Like a carrier, Pegasus carrier? And then we have the Executor, which is a version of the Pegasus. So we're getting 2 new capital ships, a midline and a variant of that midline. Then we're also getting the Invictus class Dreadnought. What even is a Dreadnought? Do we have a Dreadnought? Like, are any of our ships named Dreadnought? Like, it's not, these are all battle, oh, there's battle cruiser. Because we're also getting a Retribution class battle cruiser, which I thought that the battle cruisers were meant that it was going to be a cruiser, but the Conquest is described as a battle cruiser. So is that another capital ship? Are these all capital ships? Are we getting a bunch of capital ships? I'm kind of disappointed if they're all capital ships, because honestly I feel like we need a lot of all the different kinds of ships. But, what else? Like, where are we gonna... And then, so we're getting, Pegasus class battleship, Executor class battleship, which is a version of the Pegasus, Invictus class dreadnought, which is a low-tech ship, Retribution class battlecruiser, which is a low-tech battlecruiser, Lions Guard versions of several midline ships. So that's going to be cool. So there's going to be some Lions Guard recolors. I'm hoping that means that they're going to have different mounts. So when I said there's only 10 new ships, I was way off, because there's actually, that line means there's going to be a lot more new ships. So let's look at the low tech and see if I can figure out what the heck this dreadnought thing is. I'm kind of excited to figure that out. Let's go with size. Start at the top. Prometheus, like tanker, battleships, or battle carrier, super freighter, cruiser. Are any of these called dreadnought? Like, what is a dreadnought? Because I'm imagining that that could be like a cruiser, because most of these are battleships. I'm gonna do a quick Google search. Hold on, Starsector Dreadnought, see if anything comes up. Oh, apparently there was a post about it at some point. The Invictus class dreadnought and antiquated. Oh my lordy! Is this what we're getting? Oh, this thing looks amazing. Okay, so I'm looking at a Twitter post here. Let me share that with in chat. So this looks like a big boxy boy. It's definitely a cruiser. It says it's an antiquated design used by the Ludic Church. Requires thousands of personnel to crew thousands, not just thousands, thousands. A powerful LiDAR array extends the range of its main battery, which is a bunch. Like, it has its own built-in lasers. Very interesting. While the vast internal hangar can be effectively converted to house fighter wings if desired. I wonder what that means by... I mean, I get that means you can convert the hangar, so that means it has a lot of ordnance points, perhaps. Looking at this thing, it's got 4 large mounts pointed forward. Yeah! Dude, this thing is cool. It's got a huge engine. It looks like it's not moving too terribly slow. It's got 8 large ballistic mounts. I wonder if that's what we're going to get. 8 large ballistic mounts? That's insane. I think those are large missile mounts on the side. Maybe those are some of the new large missile mounts? No, it's got 10 large ballistic mounts. It has 2 pointed back as well. No. Yeah, because those are Devastator cannons on the back as well. This thing is bonkers. So I'm guessing this is the low-tech answer to the Paragon. Alright, that's really cool. Very cool. This thing was dropped last year. They showed off this thing. So it's got its own lasers. I am hype about this. This thing is awesome. This is a really cool looking ship. And the funny thing is about when it comes to capital ships and the battle cruisers, I'm not necessarily going to use them. I'm just hyped to see new enemies on the field. Because I'm sick of fighting onslaughts. I'm just sick of it. They're so easy to take down. I'm sick of this is going to be cool. This is some variety. And the Ludic Church, being the main boys using it, so that the Ludic Church has something to their name instead of just a paint job. Although the fact that it's not painted their colors, that's kind of a bummer. But Maybe we'll see a variant in those colors. I mean, there's no reason why we wouldn't. Okay, so let me do a quick Google search on some of these other ones to see if anything else comes up. So Starsector, we saw the Dreadnought. Let's see Pegasus. Teaser for the new Pegasus. Oh, wow. Okay, so here's another Twitter. There's a long link. Can I get a... let me just see if I can get a link. A link. Share. Yeah, here's a better link. There you go. So this is the Pegasus. Are those the new lasers? Because we're getting some new lasers. Aren't we getting some new lasers? Those are new missiles for sure. Yeah, those are the new laser missiles. I'm getting. It looks like. This thing looks bonkers too. Pegasus class midline battleship. Yeah, it's definitely another battleship. Poor flux stats and low mobility, often relegated to fleet support role, forms the backbone of larger Perseian League task force. So it's a Perseian League ship. Cool. So everyone's getting their own carrier now, or their own crew or battleship. That's nice. I like that. All right. Very cool. Very cool. So this thing's bonkers. I didn't know that this was a thing. Like, yeah, we've been getting. There's been spoilers all year. Look, so this is like right before I started playing. Yeah, I've only been playing for like less than a year, but I've got like 1,000 hours already. I gotta follow this guy. I don't know why I'm not followed on the dev team. I gotta log in. Forget that. Do that later. So yeah, I'm looking at this thing. It's. I can't tell. I'm guessing those are new lasers. We talked about new lasers, didn't we? In weapons. And we got new missiles. That's for sure. Maybe those are. No. Maybe those are just built-in lasers, like a unique weapon. Oh, no, that's our auto lance. That's our new auto lance right there. That's gotta be it. They look kind of cool. I like that red energy beam. Yeah, so that's definitely the new auto lance. Uses charges. High burst but low sustained DPS. Well, I mean, this seemed like they fired for quite some time. But maybe they got balanced and changed up since this GIF was made. So that's our new guy. That's our new Pegasus and our new auto lance. That's very cool. I'm excited for that. Sorry I don't have this up on the screen, but the link is in the chat. What do we have? What else do we have? You know what? Hold on. Let me bring up the screen share real quick. And, right, open. No, I can't just copy that. Nah. Never mind. It's a small GIF anyway, so you're better off looking it up yourself on on your device. If I screen share, it's not going to be at a good resolution because I have this big ass screen. So the Pegasus, the Nova, and then we have a variant called the Executor. Executor. Okay, let's see if that. Or is that the Executor? Am I pronouncing that wrong? Oh yeah, Executor. I'm pronouncing that wrong. It's not executor. It's executor. Okay, there's a picture of it on the Factory Works page. Here you go. So it looks like it's just a recolor, but Battleship gets a built-in special modification hull mod reflecting the Supreme input. Blah, blah, blah. During a prototype hull, the executor was heard to commit unfavorably on the exposed conduits running along the passageways and the danger these must pose. Blah, 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 blah. The new chief designer with modified the blueprints to include blast-proof insulated paneling. If the passengers are a bit narrow and more difficult to navigate, and if the conduits are slightly more prone to overheating and more difficult to access, then surely is small participative and lives, blah, blah, blah. In mechanical terms, it's a D-mod, higher crew casualties, reduced flux dissipation, increased time to repair disabled weapons and engines. The ship still works. In addition, as we've gleaned from weapons programs, the Supreme Executor, Executor is a fan of energy weapons, thus 2 of the Pegasus's large missile slots have been converted to mount energy weapons. Very cool. It looks like it's the ones on the side. So those are large missile mounts on the side, and then on the... Let me bring this up. Here we are. Yeah. So this is the Pegasus. So these are the large missile mounts that it's talking about, and on the Executor, those are going to be large energy mounts. Also gets a built-in solar shielding. That makes sense. To facilitate the operation around Asconia. Yeah. The maximum ordnance points of the hull are reduced by the cost of the hull mod, so it's a slight reduction in flexibility rather than an improvement. So basically it's a trash version. What the hell are those? Those must be the new cannon. That must be the new super duper cannon, right? Oh, and what the heck is that? Ships, Pegasus, etc. Maybe that's the Invictus. I see how cheekily this name is not all the way shown. So I guess that's the Invictus class dreadnought. Okay. Or it's the Retribution battlecruiser. Well, we'll see. We'll Google those in a minute. Oh, no, the Invictus. We already looked up the Invictus dreadnought. So that's the Retribution battlecruiser, which has a very nifty design. Okay, we'll see. We'll look at that. We'll keep going through and see if we can find that. But yeah, these look like they're that new energy weapon. Or not energy weapon, but the new weapon that was described. What was it? The Giga Cannon, which is only available from the Lions Guard. So maybe these are the kinetic blasters, and these are I think these are the kinetic blasters, and these are the new Giga Cannons. So the Giga Cannons and the kinetic blasters are both energy weapons. That's what I'm thinking, because like you can see the blue circle around them, dictating that they're energy mounts. So, and I didn't see anything else about a medium energy mount aside from that fragment, the auto lance, and I think the auto lance is what we saw on the dreadnought. So I'm thinking this is the kinetic cannon, and so we're getting 3 new energy weapons. That's interesting. I mean, there's already a lot of ballistic weapons. So, oh, here's some of those Lion Guard alternates. Oh, they look nice. They look nice. I like the look of that. I like that paint job. It's nice to get a new paint job that's not just red. I mean, it's still got red in it, but I mean, like, the battalion, the 14th Battalion, I know it's not red, but it always, like, it doesn't really stand out. These stand out. You're going to notice these. I like that. Oh, and look at that new detachment. That is scary. I mean, that's got, a big full buff one, but still, that's really cool. Okay, Okay, here we are. So yeah. This is the, I guess, a fuller peek at some of these ships. So, Nova class drone battle cruiser is already have a battleship, and another capital ship would have a high impact. Blah. Given that it's a battle cruiser, it should generally speaking get a mobility focused ship system. Okay. Are we getting pictures of these? No. Okay. So it's going to have, it's going to be a mobility cruiser. High-tech and uncrewed, so it makes sense that they would be able to both produce and handle extreme high acceleration. So it is getting the new ship system Nova Burst. What's more high-tech than using lasers to generate a miniature Nova behind the ship, containing and directing its force to propel the ship forward at an acceleration no meatbag could hope to survive. Alright, this is a variation on the Orion device ship system from the previous post, but it moves the ship both much more quickly and much farther per activation and has much more limited number of charges that regenerate more slowly. It's a system that lets the ship get in close to the enemy, but doesn't help much with getting away. That's interesting. And quite scary to think that the Remnant, who already are pretty quick, will be moving even quicker in these guys. Alright. Okay, so these are going to be capital ships. The battle cruiser. So it's going to be a less... I'm guessing it's going to be a smaller battle cruiser. Because we already have that big old boy. So it's probably going to be more like around the 400 deployment point, or 400 to 40 deployment point, where it's like, more like Conquest and maybe an Onslaught, as opposed to this oppressive beast that is the Radiant. But it's going to be fast. That's kind of scary. Alright. And then we have a cruiser, a new cruiser, which is going to be nice. Oh no. A larger ship with a bunch of Terminator drones and the Terminator sequence ship system that turns those drones into highly damaging guided missiles. Okay. Oh, and I also, we're going to get to it eventually. I'm very hype about the changes to the AI that they're talking about. Like, there's a lot of changes to the AI that are going to be, in my opinion, they're sorely needed. Like, I've always felt kind of like I'm just bitching when I scream about the AI, but it turns out a lot of what I've been complaining about is actually problems with the AI and that are getting addressed in this patch. So while I'm very hype about the Mining Blaster, and I think it's the best thing in the entire game, in the entire patch, the fact that the ship AI is getting fixed up, oh my lordy, I think it's a much needed to change, and it definitely brings us closer to that 1.0 release, because it was a bit sus when I was playing more and more and more and noticing that how the AI would behave. Like, I have to clip this at some point. I literally had a fight where I had like 8 or 9 frigates that were told to escort my conquest, hiding behind the conquest because we were in a bad position. It's like, well, of course we're going to get an even worse position if you're hiding behind the conquest instead of doing something. And yeah, it was a ridiculous situation. But so yeah, apparently the AI in general is getting a lot of buffs, and we'll get to that at some point. But yeah, they're gonna the Terminator sequence getting an AI tweak. That's important too, because they tend to throw these things out either really early, and then they don't have any drones anymore to help harass the enemy, or when the enemy is popped and dying, they throw all of them, and it's like, well, now you don't have anything for the next guy. I really hope that that's going to see some changes. But the idea of a Remnant coming at me with Terminators, multiple Terminators, and Terminator sequence as well, this is... dude, these guys are getting buffed. This is scary. Means no mobility system, and on a ship armed with energy weapons which have a lower range than ballistic ones, this can be a problem. Anything faster would just tear it apart, and it would have a hard time closing to energy weapon range. This is, for example, why the Paragon-class battleship has a built-in advanced targeting core hull mod. It's a slow ship, and needs long-range blah. Initially, I'd experimented with just having a bunch of hybrid weapon mounts on the Apex, letting it mount ballistic weapons in practice, though. That just turned into put a bunch of the longest range kinetic, i.e. anti-shield ballistics in there, being the clear best build, especially since the ship has an endless supply of drone missiles capable of dealing with armor. Yeah, that makes sense, so I'm glad it didn't go that way. So instead, it gets the new built-in hull mod, the Energy Bolt Coherer? A radio detector in which an imperfect conducting contact between pieces of conductive material loosely resting against each other is materially improved in oh my lordy, in conductance by the passage of high frequency current. Yeah, okay. Which increases the base range of non-beam energy weapons, basically bringing them up to the ballistic range band. Alongside that change, the ship's main battery is changed to the synergy slot type, meaning it can mount energy or missile weapons. Interesting. Usually a synergy slot would get missiles in it, especially on a slow ship. Flux-free damage with potentially longer range. It's just too good to pass up. However, with the Coherer? Is Coherer, increasing the value of energy weapons, and with the availability of drone missiles reducing the value of additional missile weapons a bit, this should leave the ship with more viable and varied loadouts. Plus, having longer range on energy weapons should let them get more use in some unusual situations, say applying long-range shield pressure with a battery of pulse lasers, or suppressive fire with ion pulsers, and that'll be fun to see. Yeah, especially if we get it on a ship that isn't a drone ship. The Brilliant, the other cruiser, loses its fighter bay. So not every Remnant cruiser is about drones or fighters in some way, which I'm very happy to see. But gets the plasma burn mobility system, which I'm very scared to see. Yeah, so that's going to be quite worrisome. I'm worried about that. Pirate and Luddic Path. Neither of these are factions that need much help in the has a personality department, but both sport a bunch of custom modifications of regular ships. Still, for the sake of fun, variety, and so on, I've added 2 new versions of the Venture-class cruiser. The stock version is basically a half-civilian ship themed around planetary surveys and exploration, and is pretty much a brick in combat. Yes, it is. I am very underwhelmed by this thing, except whenever I try to take it down, and it just withstands so much of a beating before it finally dies without doing too much to me. So this will be interesting to see. I'm excited for these variants. The pirate variant is going to questionable decisions would be putting even larger weapons on the hulls that were never meant for that. In case of the Venture, an enterprising pirate ship surgeon, not like one from an advanced medical establishment, think the kind with a bone saw, has decided to replace the mining drone bay with a rear-facing large missile slot. To prevent the ship from having too much missile-based firepower, which would be a balance issue, especially if these were massed, I changed the medium missile slots to mount ballistic weapons instead. This is going to be a very interesting ship, this pirate Venture. First of all, I'm very happy that these two, both of these are pretty unique. And the LP version is unique in that it doesn't have built-in safety overrides. Oh, that's interesting. Path engineers involved had bigger dreams. Instead, the drone bays are replaced with a crude version of the Orion device. Is it a good idea in terms of having a well-rounded ship that fits well into some kind of fleet doctrine? Certainly not. On the other hand, it makes a big boom and goes really fast. Wow. Is that what that looks like? Is that what that's what it is? Yeah, Orion device. So you literally explode. Oh, lordy. Okay. So, this is very cool, because it takes a ship, in my opinion, that is kind of underwhelming, and gives you 2 variants, which are both bonkers. Like this pirate venture here is, I'm excited about that. That, like, a large missile mount pointing backwards. So we have another medium ship that has a large missile mount, which is cool. And then it's got now 4 ballistic mounts, 2 of which are going to be pointing forward, and they're not turrets, because that's the missile mounts that it's replacing are the ones on the wings here. Oh, those must be the jackhammers. Like if we scroll in even further here. Hold on, let me pull this guy up. Oh no, that didn't help. Oh boy. Oh lord. Alright, here we go. Yeah, these must be the jackhammers. Which are medium missile mounts. Or medium hammer torpedo mounts. I'm excited for those. I'm really excited for those. So yeah, this is going to be really cool. So like, I guess the LP venture didn't get changed. Let me see the patch notes that I've got here in front of me. I think it... medium missile slots changed to composite slots. Okay, that's cool. So now you can have missiles or ballistics on them. Those are both... That changes the venture to be a very flexible ship. A lot more flexible. Kind of excited. No, those are regular hammer mounts. Those are the medium missile mounts. Okay. This is going to be interesting. I'm excited for that. That's a very cool ship. And then we have, it didn't get listed here, we also have a Manticore, an LP Manticore, where the large slot is getting changed to a missile, and the medium slots to ballistics. I think that's very cool. So we have a large missile slot on the destroyer size. Very interesting. And we have, and it will also have, where is it? The built-in rangefinder is changed to safety overrides, which is less interesting because if the primary mount is a missile mount, you know what? No, that's very interesting because now you can have a Manticore with 2 assault chain guns, potentially. This is going to be a very strange ship. I'm excited for this thing. And I guess it still has the canister blasts, too. This is going to be a very, very interesting ship, this new Manticore. I'm excited for that. Alright, so I'm going to continue going through this post here, and then we'll get back to the patch note post, because this is new to me, and it's covering a lot of what we're talking about. Oh lordy. Look at that thing. How many guns that thing has. What the hell? I hope that changed. That's... Oh, man. I mean, it's still less large. I mean, okay, so the Radiant has 5, potentially 5 large autocannons pointing at you. So I guess it's not that terrifying. But, still, that's... Alright, let's go back to the top of this real quick. Uniquifying the factions, I enjoy that, that's nice. Near exclusive access to the monitor, which is nice. Okay, so they're going to get the monitor for Saiyan League. That's cool. If anything, that means it's going to be less rare, because now you know where it is. Access to only a limited set of ballistic weapons. For example, heavy autocannon is their signature anti-shield weapon. It has no access to the more elite ballistic weapons that the hegemony does. Okay, that's kind of cool. Fighters, the elite fleets often have some fighter support, but with an exclusive doctrine focus on interceptors rather than bombers. Interesting. Alright, here we are, the DEM missiles. Wow, that thing actually looks terrifying. Which one is that? Direct energy wet missiles? The distinctive feel of the missile really comes across. The League will use these to the exclusion of all other missile weapons. Oh boy. This means that a set of new missile weapons needs to cover the major missile roles, but at the same time, we don't want to add a lot of the same thing that just looks different kind of weapons. Some of that may happen, sure, occasionally. It's okay to make something new and shiny just for the cool. So yeah, these are just beam boys. Alright, Gorgon DEM. This is a basic finisher type of missile compared to the Harpoon, its closest competitor among conventional missiles. It has a shorter range, but is harder to stop with point defense because it doesn't need to get all the way in to deal its damage. It also deals energy damage instead of high explosive, making it somewhat worse versus armor, but it has a slightly higher ammo count. It comes in small and medium sizes. We have the Gazer anti-shield missile, which I'm very happy for this guy, because there's not enough anti-shield missiles. There just aren't. You got the Sabot, you got the Squall, and that's it. Right? Just Sabot and Squall. So I'm very happy to see more anti-shield missiles. Both it and the Sabot, the standard shield-breaking missile, operate from range, but the Gazer opens up from a much longer range, and, critically, the beam it fires lasts for a full 10 seconds, creating a long window of opportunity, but dealing much less burst damage than the Sabot. It also comes in small and medium versions. Okay, so something I'm curious about with the Gazer. I'm wondering if this is going to get the Graviton Beam's buff. You know, the Graviton Beam is getting buffed so that it, other weapons as well, and I think the beam itself, shields will take more damage for each Graviton beam that is on it. 5, 8, and 10% for that total of 10% with 3 beams on it. So I wonder if these Gazers will get that same bonus, because it's described in the patch notes as a 10-second Graviton beam. And that's what the Graviton beam is what got buffed specifically. So I'm wondering if that's going to be the case. Hydra MDEM. This one doesn't have a ready equivalent among the other missiles. Oh, I missed one. Dragon Fire DEM. The big damage dealer firing its brief high-powered beam from a long range. I'm guessing that's this guy. It's much harder to stop with point defense than conventional torpedoes, but easier to shrug the damage off if the target's shields are up. It's also sort of an upsized version of regular torpedoes. It has a medium and large version, but the ammo counts are low in the range that would be found convenient. Conventional torpedoes, one weapon slot size smaller. Overall, harder to stop, less shots. Okay. Hydra MDEM. This one's very strange. Very interested in this. It doesn't really have an equivalent to other missiles. It fires a missile that splits into multiple warheads, which, okay, the MIRV is a very similar missile. I don't know why you said it didn't have an equivalent at all. But anyway, which then bracket the target from both sides and fire relatively low-powered beams into it. Tougher targets can often shrug this damage off, especially since chances are it'll be hitting undamaged armor on the sides of ships rather than on its front, but smaller targets can get overwhelmed, making this a good choice for clearing out smaller combatants. It also has more ammo than usual to give it some extended usefulness even against the tougher targets. This one only has a large mount version. Between all these, we have a missile lineup that covers all the bases. I'm excited to see what these do. It's interesting that we'll have a lot more missiles for sure. I mean, missiles aren't entirely a small area, though. Like, I mean, there's lots of missiles. If anything, we could have used more energy weapons, but we did get some new energy weapons. But what's interesting, though, is that a lot of the missiles we already have tend to just be, like, the same one, but bigger. So, like, if you go to small missiles, half of them are just bigger racks of the same one. So, really, I guess there aren't a lot of missiles, if you think about it. Oh well. Yeah, that's what we're getting. I'm happy. The IR Auto Lance. Yeah, that's this guy. Okay. So that's our, it got changed, didn't it? Hold on. Where's the thing for it? No, yeah. IR Auto Lance. Okay. It's a beam weapon with a new mechanic. The beam fires continuously but uses up charges while it does so, making it a weapon that deals burst damage, while with its sustained weapon being quite low, limited by the rate at which it regenerates its charges. Its flux generation is extremely low, and it deals fragmentation damage, making it virtually useless against shields. In fact, when set to auto-fire, it will only fire a small fraction of its charges into shields. That's really cool. They're changing the auto-fire to be a little smarter. I'm excited for that. And poor against most armor. It can deal crippling hull damage, though, and wipes out most fighters easily. Its high range The standard 1,000 units for beam weapons makes it especially effective at that job, as does its burst nature. Enemy fighters usually come in waves, letting it regenerate targets, or regenerate charges. So this is going to be very cool because like there isn't really a medium point defense energy weapon. Like there isn't, because you have the bursty laser that sucks at it, which is getting a buff, but I think it's still going to kind of suck at it, and that's it. So seeing this, I think this fills that gap. It's something that I think is going to be very viable for that role. Like, and not just that either. I think it'll also be pretty viable. Like the Thumper, it'll have its niche for finishing targets as well. Like, I'm excited for this. Then we have the Pegasus class battle cruiser, and this is where we started already. Yeah, this thing looks great. I'm guessing that's one of the new big. Oh, that's a medium one, so that's I think the Graviton one, the Gazer. That's probably the Gazer, and this is probably the Dragonfire. I'm just going to guess because it's red. It's either that or the Gorgon. But I'm pretty sure this is going to be the Gazer. Oh, here we are. Retribution class. Standard battle cruiser. Oh, no, what the heck are you doing, phone? Dang it. Where did my page go? Oh, let me open the patch notes back up again. I lost them. There we go. Patch notes. Yep, take me to it. Open Chrome. Retribution. Yeah, okay. So that's our Retribution. We already looked at the Dreadnought. Are we going to talk about that? No, it's just sort of casually shown off. Okay, but here we have the other weapons for the Dictat. Kinetic Blaster is a short-range, medium-energy weapon, much like the Heavy Blaster, but dealing kinetic anti-shield damage. It's pretty great on high-tech ships that have the flux stats and the speed to use it well. On Dictat's midline ships, it's wholly outclassed by the options offered by their ballistic weapon slots. Okay, interesting. That'll be fun. Giga Cannon, an unnecessarily long energy weapon with an unnecessarily grandiose name. This one requires a large mount. It deals a huge amount of energy damage, but has a very low rate of fire. It's actually quite efficient, but its range is on the low side. A high-tech ship could use it well. Flux efficiency is a very valuable stat, and it wouldn't mind the range, since it's worse than the range of its usual armaments. But oh, it's no worse than its usual armaments. Okay, so I guess we're looking at something that's got this more in the 600 range, 600 to 700 range, maybe less even. It kind of might be a pretty decent weapon on, say, the Sunder. The detached capital ship is a slow battleship, though, and this weapon's lack of range or sustained damage make it nearly useless there. Okay, so it's not going to be good on the Executor, but still, yeah, okay. So this will be exciting to see. I'm wondering exactly, okay, like exactly how much. I want to see some more numbers. I want to see more numbers, because essentially we just got a notepad of this post. When did this post come out? April. Oh well. I mean, still, it's a type. Let's look at part 1 again. Again, I haven't looked at it at all yet. Okay, so that's where the Orion drive is. On the exclusive access to the Legion-class battle carrier in addition to the Onslaught. It focused on elite ballistic weapons, needlers, railguns, Gauss cannons. Customized ship loadouts built to take better advantage of available hardware. Some standardization of officer skills, namely all hegemony officers getting ballistic mastery and ordnance expertise as their first skills. I wonder if that's going to count for the, I guess that counts for the hegemony officers you hire as well. Okay. Luddic Church getting its big blocky boy. Yes, we saw that already. So, oh my lordy. So the starting point was, what if a really large battleship with no shields and all ballistic mounts? A ship like this that is going to have trouble trading fire and will get its weapons disabled, though. So it needs built-in hull mod to make weapons more resilient. Distributed fire control. Unless this ship has a mobility system, which the Onslaught already has, so I wanted to stay away from that, it needs to have very long range weapon range. It's slow and it has no shields, so it'd be a sitting duck to anything that outranges it. Just giving high base bonus to weapon range, though, I suppose it could work. There are potential problems with it being able to, say, kite stations or slower battleships, but mainly I wanted the ship to feel outdated, and its targeting systems are so good they're better than the more modern stuff doesn't fit. I also wanted to have a nod to the fire control with the strange fighting capabilities that real-life dreadnoughts generally had, which inspired the ship's LiDAR array, and that's where the Invictus would get its range bonus. Okay, so is that what those lasers are? I'm guessing? I wanted a specific visual for when the LiDAR array is active. Okay, yes. Using a bunch of targeting lasers that blink on and off before the ship unleashes a torrent of fire. So, I'm skimming through this. It's so much to read. We don't have the same problem. We'll say it's pointed in the same direction as the ship, so we can have the targeted lasers be a clear visual signal. It's very confusing. Alright, the actual bonuses of the LiDAR are 100% weapon range while active, 200% rate of fire, plus 200% rate of fire, so triple, and reduces recoil. And then 50% projectile speed and 25% weapon range when passive. So just a straight up 25% bonus weapon range. But when you activate the system, that's insane. Okay, that's pretty good. Can't install the standard dedicated targeting core or dedicated targeting. That makes sense. They're incompatible with the LiDAR array. One nice effect of this is that while the system is active, the ship is really dangerous, but its enemies also get a breather when the system's on cooldown. Yeah, okay. That's kind of cool. Yeah, so it's described. It's really cool looking. I'm excited about this. It's going to be interesting. Oh, it's got a fighter bay and 2 missile mounts. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, side-facing missile slots. Those are the larger pillums. Height for those. Vast hangar. What is vast hangar? A dreadnought surely needs one after all. As well crafted smart weapon. The effect of the hull mod is to make the converted hangar provide 2 fighter bases instead of 1. And to also eliminate all of the fighter penalties it normally gives. That's kind of cool. But is that only when you use the converted hangar then? I'm confused. Okay, so you don't have to put the converted hangar in, is the idea, but you can put a converted hangar in, and if you do, you get twice the ships, and there's no penalties in them. I mean, I can't imagine not just having the hangar, putting the hangar on. It seems like you're basically should have just reduced the points by 20 and put the hangars in for free. But then again, like it said, you don't need to do the hangar. So in this situation where we can see the Dreadnought has 20 points on the hangar and then 40 points spent on 2 Perdition wings, Perdition bomber wings, you could use those 60 points to instead upgrade all these ballistic weapons. So it's like, you can have a hangar, but you don't have to. That's actually kind of cool, the more I'm thinking about it. I like that. Oh, so it's got canister flasks as well. That's cool. Heavy ballistic integration. Heavy ballistics integration means these weapons are cheaper, doesn't it? And distributed fire control. Because heavy ballistics integration is what the Conquest has, isn't it? Yeah. So those are all going to cost 10 points less? Oh, man. Alright. This thing is insane. I'm enjoying this. The more and more I read about this Dreadnought, I'm excited to play some crazy playthroughs. Because honestly, like, my Ludic no shields, stack the plates playthrough, where you just stack armor, like, there really wasn't a capital ship that I was thinking of that I could really put in that fleet. But now I've got one that's built for it. It's fantastic. It's still vulnerable to fighters, and especially to bombs and torpedoes. Its logistics profile is also impressive, requiring a minimum of 4,000 crew. And when that's coupled with how vulnerable it can be, yeah. Okay. Stellar LiDAR array being so central to how it works, the ship plays differently enough that a few AI tweaks are required to help it along. The ship system AI is separate from the main ship control AI and largely operates independently from it, communicating with it through a system of flags when need to be. This is very useful. It lets us have separate AI modules for each ship system instead of having to somehow integrate them directly into the main AI, which would be messy. A loose connection between these AI modules via the flags seems like the best approach. That's interesting. Okay. Maybe, so is that going to be on other ships as well? Like, I've noticed other ships are pretty good about using their systems appropriately, but not always. And then we have the Retribution. How much more is there to this post? Okay, so I'm gonna skim through this quickly. And then I'm going to take a short break, as we're approaching the 3-hour mark. And that's usually, I take a break usually every 3 hours, have a cigarette, go to the restroom, that kind of stuff. With the Invictus, the Church now has a battleship. I suppose we could leave it there, along with the other changes, blah, but the battlecruisers are so much fun, they make for excellent player flagships, as blah, the battlecruiser is basically a battleship with stripped-down defenses. It takes as much of the battleship's firepower as possible, while training its defenses for increased mobility. It can't slug it. Okay, alright, that's kind of cool. One reason that there isn't already a low-tech battlecruiser is that it's not immediately obvious how to design one. The feel of a lot of low-tech ships is relatively slow and heavily armored, and if we take that as the defining feature of each of the tech level, then how do we make a battlecruiser with those qualities? We really just don't. Stepping back, though, I think we can look at it in a more correct way, and that is, how would the designers of the low-tech ships, given what they had to work with, come up with the design that fit the mission profile of a battle cruiser? Low-tech ships clearly can be fast. Just look at the Hound. And an engine that can move something the size of Invictus would surely make something less massive move at a reasonable pace. This overall design process wasn't as tricky as it was for the Invictus, so I'll just jump straight into how the ship turned out. Yeah, well, that looks insane. So the Invictus is this guy, right? Yeah. I'm not in love with this design, but at the same time, I don't need to be. There's plenty of ships in this game where I didn't like the design when I first saw them. But what I do like is what they're trying to do with it. Like, how many ordnance points does it cost? That's what I really want to know. distributed fire control. Mostly ballistic with some missile support. Yeah, pretty fast just on its own. Oh yeah, its speed is at 78. That's with the officer probably. So it's probably like a 60. Oh, I'm completely lost in these patch notes, Somni. I'm glad you're having fun though. I'll definitely try it out once you're finished with it. So defensive-wise, light armor is basically just a bunch of guns and engines strapped together. None of that bulky plating to slow it down, and a very shield inefficient with a narrow arc. Yeah, 60. I'm hoping that's an Omni shield, and we can change that to a forward-facing shield. That's a crappy little shield. So this is really like a glass cannon ship. I wanted the ship to be too cheap to deploy and operate, so it needs to have some kind of downside, otherwise it can use its mobility to easily negate its defensive deficiencies. Yeah, and I also wanted to keep its firepower. Thus, it has the same distributed fire control built-in hull mod as the Invictus. This serves two purposes. It keeps the range of its weapons relatively short, so it has to close in to do its work, and it also increases its effective firepower. Wait, did I miss the part up here where we were talking about distributed fire control? Hold on. Uh... Hmm. But like, so distributed fire control seems like a ranged buff. Why is it talking about having a ranged penalty? It keeps the range of its weapons relatively short, so it has to close in to do its work, and it also increases its effective firepower. Despite the ship's light defenses, its weapons are harder to knock offline. This is really strange. It's because this doesn't describe anything like what we just read up top. You could imagine isolated weapon citadels operating on local control and emergency power while the ship gets beaten to scrap around them. It serves another purpose as well. It traces the ship's lineage to the Invictus and signals that it is also an old and perhaps antiquated design. Not as old, it does have shields after all, if poor ones, but even so. Orion device. Real Life Project Orion is a nuclear propulsion. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so yeah, boom tube. There's actually a little bomb that comes out of it and pushes, and the push plate is animated, of course. And oh, this sounds great. Is this an image? It's a GIF. No, it's just an image. Oh, okay. Very similar to the high-tech plasma burn system, just a better version of it. Why is it better? How come everything that comes out for low-tech ends up being better than the high-tech? Okay. So it sounds like it's going to be fun to mess around with. This will be interesting. I'm hyped. Yeah, I'm hyped for all these changes that are coming through. I didn't know that these posts existed. The fact that these posts came out, almost a full year ago, 9 months ago, and now we've got patch notes, I would say the patch is probably coming out sooner than later. Because I was worried that we were looking at this kind of a 9-month wait. Now, this isn't Game of Thrones. We don't have a 9-year wait. Just a 9-month wait for patch notes. Yeah, I'm thinking we're looking at more like a month or so. Complete speculation, of course. I have nothing to base this on. Okay. So that covered most of this page, but there's some other stuff that they're changing as well. Like I said, the Manticore wasn't on that list. The Brawler, the LP Brawler specifically, is getting its deployment cost increased. I think that's needed. It's definitely much better than the other ones. It's only being increased to 6, but it's definitely something. Also, the Brilliant, as we mentioned when we were reading about the, was it the Nova or the Apex? I think it was the Nova. The Brilliant system is getting changed to a Plasma Burn. Its shield upkeep is getting lower. Just shield upkeep. What does that even mean? Talking about shield flux of damage? Oh, shield upkeep per second to 0.4 was 0.5. Very confused at what that means. And then removing the fighter bay on the Radiance, or on the Brilliance, I mean, which I'm very happy for, because there were just so many fighters that you'd end up fighting in larger fleets of the Redacted. It's just ridiculous. The Fulgent's getting a built-in energy bolt coherer to increase base non-beam energy hybrid weapon range. That's something that's coming on one of the other ones. So I'm glad to see that's not going to be on 2 different ships. In fact, it might make the Fulgent a little more interesting of a ship to have that. The Apogee is getting increased deployment and maintenance supply costs. It's going to be moved to 20. It's at 18. I think it's not a huge change. I think it's a necessary change, though. The Apogee is a little too good when it's built right. Especially that thick shield. The Eagle, however, is getting a reduced cost, which is interesting to me, because the Eagle already kind of... Like, is that 22 versus the Falcon's 14? Okay, yeah, so I see that then. Because essentially it's just got a couple of extra mounts and it's slower and heavier. Like, it's not it's not like it's that much better. It's certainly not 50% plus on top of the Falcon. It's literally 1/3 plus on top of the Falcon. Which, so I'm glad to see that get changed. It's also getting more flux, 100 more flux dissipation from 700 to 600. And it's also getting more speed, up to 60 from 50, and slightly increased acceleration. And it reduced the base cost to 100,000 credits, where it was 120,000. Yeah, I think this is a good change. It makes them a little feel like... I think they'll feel a lot better now. Because they weren't real. I'm completely underwhelmed by them. I feel like they're complete crap. But at least this is like, they're getting a slight buff, and they're becoming cheaper to deploy. Yeah, okay. They're a little more viable now. The Vigilance is getting more hit points and more flux capacity. I don't think it really needed it, but that'll be fun. The Vigilance is already a pretty good ship. I got it backwards. So, I mean, like, for what it is, so that's going to be kind of interesting to see. So, yeah. It's not a huge buff, but it's going to be interesting to see. Like, I've been using Vigilance lately, so it'll be fun to see that. See them be even more durable. The Eradicators increased deployment and maintenance cost, which makes sense, because I think the regular one is getting 22 from 20, and the Pirate one is going from 17 to 18. I think that's probably needed. Like, the Eradicator is a big... Like, it's a bit bulky. It's certainly more bulky than the Falcons and the Eagles, so... It's probably necessary. Now, the Legion is getting its ordnance points increased. The regular one from 260 to 300, and the 14th battle group is going from 270 to 310. This is really good. Like, I had a Legion just in my fleet just a second ago, and we looked at the fact that if you look at this thing, like, you basically don't have room for actual bombers or fighters. Like, to get these 4 guys, I basically have no capacitors. Like, you've got to sacrifice so much, and I have full vents. And this is the other thing that's getting changed on them, is they're getting more flux. Where is it? Or isn't it? No, they're just getting more ordnance points. But, like, I needed all these vents for all these cheap weapons that I had on this thing, and it leaves hardly any room for anything else. I built in my integrated targeting in order to be able to have more flux, more vents. And I can't have any other hull mods because I'm not fielding super expensive, hypervelocity drivers and dual flat cannons. They are kind of expensive on the weapons, but I needed them because, like, the terrible flux. Like, I could change these to light machine guns, but that wouldn't be much of a change. Now I want to change them to mining blasters. I'm going to put mining blasters all over this thing. Or not mining blasters, mining lasers. Because that'll save me a lot of points and still be good point defense. I'm excited for the mining lasers. Gemini is getting removed built-in civilian-grade hull. That's good, because I almost always see those things being fielded as, like, offensive ships, not civilian ships. So that's cool. It's also got a lot of gun on it for a civilian ship. It's also getting more ordnance points, which is nice, and increased speed, which is also nice. And adjusted stock variant. Oh, that's cool. Does that mean it's going to get different paint jobs? Oh no, adjusted stock variant. That's like where it's going to be found. Because they're kind of rare, considering they're not really that great of a ship. And you see them in like every fleet, but you can't buy them so easily. It's kind of funny. Change starting wolf variant to have pulse laser on auto fire, which I guess, okay, I don't know, that's sounds like a small change, but hey. Hyperion reduced mass to 200 was 300, which will affect the ship-to-ship and ship-to-asteroid collisions, and added built-in delicate machinery. Like, the thing needs more debuffs, I guess. I don't know, I'm not personally impressed by it. You don't see a lot of people talking about it anymore. Apparently it used to be good. Phase teleporter can no longer require 0 flux boost, and cooldown increase to 15 seconds. I don't know what that even is. Phase teleporter? Is that on the Hyperion? Do I have a Hyperion? I can look at it real quick. Not here. I have the recipe. Okay, so requires, so that'll be cool. So it makes it a little more easier to use their teleporter. Medusa increased ordnance points to 100 was 95. That's nice. Happy the Medusa gets a little bit of a buff. I'm building that thing. I felt like it was difficult to use all your mounts, and I basically don't put point defense on it because it seems like you're better off just putting other weapons on it. Harbinger is getting increased speed, which will be nice. I don't think it needs it, but I'm very happy for that. And reduced maintenance and deployment supply costs. It's going to cost 18 instead of 20. I'm very happy for this. I didn't think it needs the buff, but hey, I'm not going to complain. Updated the Conquest sprite. That's going to be interesting to see. Don't know why the Conquest needs a new sprite. But, hey, it'll be interesting to see what the update looks like versus the old one. And various other older ship sprites are adjusted and improved. So there's going to be a slight visual update across the board on ships. That's kind of cool. Okay, so we just talked about ships, fighters, and weapons for 3 hours. And there's a lot in here to talk about. There's campaign stuff, there's combat stuff, there's miscellaneous stuff. There's hull mods as well. There's ship AI, which, like I said, I'm very excited to talk about. And there's a huge section about modding and a section about some bug fixes. I don't personally know much about modding, and while Omni is getting into it, I'm not sure he knows all that much either. So I actually asked someone to join me later. They said they should be free in around, seems like 1 o'clock. And a couple hours from now is around the time they said they'd be free. It's a fellow streamer who's a modder, a VTuber, and I don't know if I want to drop their name before I guarantee they're going to be joining us. So I'll keep it vague for now, but hopefully we'll have like a guest dropping in who is a modder. We'll see. And I'm excited to talk to someone who is really into modding, and they are, and that's the important thing. Since they're more familiar with it, to see what they think about this, and that way, this video will have a whole bunch of. I'll be able to actually cover that subject. So I'm very happy, that I'll have someone be able to come in and talk about that as well. So for now, I'm going to just go. I'm going to put this back up real quick. Get a good page. Doris is so tiny. Let's go look at Aeolus. Aeolus is larger. Yeah, look at that. What a pretty planet. I'll just leave it like this for now, because I'm going to go take a 15-minute break. At least 15 minutes. Let's say I'll be back at 20 after. Let me drop the display capture. I'll be back at 20 after, not 40 after, 20 after, and then we'll get into like the story stuff and some of the other stuff. You know, I'll absolutely front-loaded it with a lot of the more exciting things to talk about, but honestly, there are a lot of things in the other categories as well that I am incredibly excited about, specifically the AI changes, because those sound like they're going to be